billions, billion, trillions, trillion, million, 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 billion, 400 billion suns, billion, trillion, million, billion, trillions of orbiting snowballs, billion, 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 trillions, million, 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 billion, 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 million, billion, 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 million, million, billion, 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 million, million, millions, billion, million, 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 billion, billion, 4 billion-year-old tree, tens of billions. I have trillions, billions, billion, trillions, billion, 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 billions, billion, million, billion, billion, trillion, millions, million, million, millions, million, billion, 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 billions, million, billions, billion, millions, million, million, millions, billion, billion years, 100 million. It took nature hundreds of millions of years to evolve a bacterium, and billions of years to make a grasshopper. Billion, trillion, billion, million, million, billion, million, million, billion kilometers from the sun. Saturn 1.5 billion, Uranus 3 billion, and Neptune 4.5 billion kilometers. Billions, billion, million, billion, billions, billion other galaxies, each of which contains something like 100 billion, million, 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 billion, millions, million, million, billion, million, tens of billions of years in the far future. Billion, million, billions, million, millions, billion, million, 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 billion, million of them, million, billion, millions, or billions, billions, millions, million, billions of G's, billions, million, billion, million, millions, billion, billion, or million, billions, million, tens of millions of degrees. Billion, million, billion, million, million, billion, billion, billions, million, billion, billion, million, billions, millions, millions, billion, billion, million, billions, million, billion, billion, million, billion, 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 billions, billions, quadrillion, millions, million, billions, billion, billions, million, million, millions, million, billions, billions, billion, billion, million, million, billion, trillion, billion, billion, millions, 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 billion, trillion, million, trillion, million, million, millions, million, million, trillion, billion, 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 million, billions, billions, billion, 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 trillion, billion, billion, billions, billion, trillion, billion, 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 million, billion, million, billions, million, billion, million, million, billions, million, million, billions, billion, 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 trillion, billion, million, billion, million, million, trillion, billion, million, billion, 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 billion.
What's going on out there, everyone? Hopefully my mic's coming out across all right. Yeah, just got bored. Thought I'd jump online. If anyone wants to join me, I've shared the link. If you need the link, let me know. Not much new going on here. I have not watched any of the lunch. Is it the lunch box or the lunch break? I still have it up. I still have it. So I do plan on it. I've just been working on a video, so I have not had the chance to yet, but I plan on checking it out. Hello to everyone. Yeah, I do. There's two things on my mind though that we can talk about until someone jumps on. If you follow me at all, you'll know I am a fan of Nathan Oakley. He's very entertaining and has some really good arguments and makes them very well. And man, he's just really attacking anyone who has a model in flat Earth. So I guess now the new thing is you have to say that it's like I have to distinguish the type of flat earther I am, right? So I would be a flat earther of the biblical cosmology type, so to say. So Nathan and his group like to call themselves demonstrable realists, right? And they're really up in arms about people who make any type of assumption about what kind of plane we could be on, right? Like they absolutely do not like assumptions. So, but me, for me, it's not an assumption, right? Like I think I just kind of wanted to throw that out there, and hopefully I don't make enemies with anyone. I'm not trying to, but I did want to talk about it because it was kind of bothering me. It was irking me a little bit because I fill in my science with the Bible, right? Like I believe that the Bible, um, for me, everything I've learned about flat Earth matches the Bible, and the Bible has become my source of truth, and that's fine. I don't push that on anyone. You rarely do I try to. Have you heard me ever try to push that on someone? But it is what I believe. So I am a flat earther of the biblical cosmologist persuasion. And nobody owns flat earth, right? Nobody owns the term. You can't trademark it. You can't, you may not like it, right? That I'm a flat earther, but I'm a flat earther and I'm a biblical cosmologist. So, but man, it's funny. I did watch some Level Earth Observer, which I enjoy watching his stuff. I watched some Nathan Oakley. I enjoy watching his stuff, but it is frustrating to see the community divided. Anyone's welcome to jump on, guys. I have no preference. If anyone wants to come on, if you're bored and you want to come on, Nachiket, that's always good to have you on. If anyone else wants to join, um, you're more than welcome. You can come in and talk about whatever. But the other thing is, yeah, sorry, I'm just catching up here. So someone give me something to go off of. If not, I'm going to stay off the other subject, which is, yeah, I'm gonna leave it alone. What was interesting, I was out on TFE, or what is it? Not TFE, sorry. Um, Flat Earth Society, FES. I was thinking of three letters. I was out on the Flat Earth Society's website. They actually have a lot of good information out there. That's what's right. Aside, I've got one issue with their website, and I know it is a mockery. I do. Like, I get it, right? Like, I don't associate with them in any way, but man, they do have some really, really good explanations, and like the research that went into that site is really good. And I noticed that they have, and guys, don't turn on me. Don't turn on me for this, really. I'm just saying, they actually have some decent stuff out there. And I noticed they had several of Jaron's videos out there, which I sent those over to Jaron. Was like, hey, do you know you're on Flat Earth Society's website? So I saw two videos that they're using of his. Um, Someone said, have you checked out this guy going on Jeranism in a couple of days who claims a complete flat Earth model that explains the 24-hour sun? No, and I wouldn't. No, I'm not sure who that is. The last thing I saw was he had what's his name from TFE on there. Um, I can't remember his name, the preacher's name. But I went and looked. Someone said go look at his website, is the church's website, and to me it looks very much Freemasonic. Right, the logo is a Freemasonic logo to me. You make up your own mind. Go look at it. It's called Agape or Agape. I don't know how you say it. Agape Kingdom Church. But to me, that is just a Freemasonic logo disguised. It's like they took the Freemason logo and just and curved the two instruments. Yeah, yeah. I mean, as far as like someone brought up Nathan Oakley, Mark. I mean, I'm a biblical cosmologist. I am. Like I get until the. I mean, the Bible's never been wrong. It's not gonna be wrong. It's just my opinion. That's my faith, right? I have faith. So if but I will say that Nathan is valuable as a debater. He is a very valuable debater too, convincing people. And I don't know what his stances are. I don't know if he's religious or not. I've never paid attention, and it doesn't matter. But just I'd be curious. Um, I'm sorry, guys. I'm just reading. I'm trying to until someone comes on. I'm just reading down the comments. There's quite a few. Lindsay something. I don't know who she is. Um, Thomas, did you go with Joe there? I think yeah. Take your time, Nachiketa. But this whole TFE thing really has people up in arms, right? Like it's got people just all kinds of bent out of shape. Drilling other flat earthers. What if? What if? There's no what if. I mean, there's already. If y'all, I'm just curious. Hopefully, everyone here has seen the interview with the plumber that went to Antarctica and spent a year and a half there. And he took photographs there. I mean, the guy was there. There's no debating. There's no arguing. The guy was there, right? He was there for a year and a half and never saw a sun do a 360. And there's been other people as well. Kingdom in Context shared several videos of people giving testimony who were there. There was a Brazilian channel, and Eddie Allen with Flat Earth Banjo translated it. Hey, what's up, Nachiketa? How are you? Always,
I'm doing all
always
right.
good. Yeah, yeah. Always good to have you, my friend.
You- Well, I wanted to give other people opportunity to come on up because I'm not shy to talk to you or put my face out there. But if other people wanted to show up, I just want to give them the space, to talk to you. But yeah, I can always talk about flat Earth and what's going on out there. Have you seen this a video by a channel called Burn the Corporate Fiction? Dave from Sovereign Souls, that's his son, and they did a deep dive on Agape Church and Will Duffy, and it's pretty alarming. Let me share the video. It's kind of long. I'm not recommending to watch it here, but on your own time, go and check it out. So let me go find it, and you can check it out on your own time.
Yeah, I've heard some alarming things about Will Duffy. I'm not gonna. At this point, they're just rumors, so I'm not gonna share it. But I was surprised by what I heard.
Yeah, let's see. Where can I put this? I put it in the private chat, and then you can do what you wish to do with it. So, so what were you talking about earlier? Like about Nathan Oakley or something else?
Yeah, not. I mean,
About the guy who went to, yeah, yeah,
well, I was talking about two things. I was talking about, and it hopefully in a way not to. I hate making enemies with anyone. That's never my intention, right? And that's why I do a lot of
right.
tap dancing. But no, I was saying like Nathan and his group are really against people having any kind of model, right? Like they're really, hey, they're observational realists, or their thing is observational reality, and I get that, right? But it was just, nobody owns flat Earth, nobody. And like for me, I'm a biblical cosmologist, so I believe in a firmament, right? Like, how do you? I mean, I would be curious to have a conversation with Nathan. Like, I would say, well, how do you have pressure next to space? How do we have pressure? Like, how do we have pressure without a firmament? That's what I'd love to know. Like, how are we at pressure here? There are things that the Bible, I think, does a great job of explaining. But yeah, but the other thing
Yeah,
is, I was
I mean, we need
go
all
ahead.
kinds of people, I guess, in the flat Earth community, and maybe his kind of like, is kind of like a hard liner, like what can be proven, what can be observed, and any kind of speculation. And I think maybe that will bring more credibility. And of course, there are some people who are a little bit more loosey goosey with it, and obviously that's not going to do us any favors within the movement, because basically why we believe anything that we believe is based on facts,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Uh, I got here through lots and lots of research, but I think people like Austin are really good for the community, right? Like he has. Uh, some people don't like his toroidal electrostatic electromagnetic explanation of gravity. I think it does fine, right? Like I'm a fan of Walter Lewin, and I know that electrostatics are 10 to the 36 times more powerful than gravity claims to be. So that to me makes more sense. But I think it's okay to speculate, like what gravity is, right? It is okay to speculate. It's okay to form hypotheses, right? And it's also okay to have faith. So you can have either of those two things or both of them. So I can have faith and get my model from the Bible, and I can also hypothesize on everything in between. But as long as I don't think anyone should have an issue with that as long as you're clear about that, right? Like, and I've talked about that before, is that there's things we can prove demonstrably, and then there's things that there's assumptions we make because we have to. We don't have enough resources.
Yeah, so like I've been kind of following Dell lately, and not to change the subject or anything like this, but there's another channel called Level-Headed William, and he's been conducting some experiments, and this is demonstrable. And the question that I would have for flat earthers is that when you drop an object, so one of the experiments, I can share the video.
Mhm.
But like basically one of the experiments is that in a bottle, right? In a bottle, you have a slinky, right? If you just have a slinky, it would sink to the bottom, right? Because it's made out of metal. And then if you have a ping pong ball, it would float on the water in the bottle, right? Correct? I mean, there's buoyancy. Okay. So when you connect the ping pong ball to the slinky, right, you have what is called the density gradient, because the heavier parts will sink to the bottom, and then the ping pong ball that will float on the top. So you have a density gradient. But what's interesting is that when you drop the bottle, like when you completely let go of the bottle, it appears like there is no buoyancy at all. And this can be done at like a height level, a man's height level. You drop the bottle, the slinky will, and the ball goes right to the middle. Now, what that is demonstrating to me is that there is no buoyancy in the water, right? At quote unquote free fall speed. And when you look at these videos at space, when you look at these video, not space, I'm sorry, like these like parabella, like what they call space, like what they call like in zero gravity, what they are, like these
Yeah,
airplanes that go in this
parabolic
parabola.
flight, right?
Yeah, they call it the vomit comet, right? So they've done like experiments of that, right? So what happens to water in that free fall environment, right? It turns into a ball, right? What happens to a candlelight in that free fall environment? It turns into a ball, because like normally a candle that is sitting on the ground will have that kind of tear shape that we are all aware of, right? So what's strange to me is that what is causing that phenomenon to happen? That's the question that I have for myself and other people who might be looking into that, and asking like, hey, what's happening here, right? And that's a demonstrable phenomenon that people can actually go and conduct themselves. Let me share the video with you in the back channel, and you can check it out yourself. Um,
Oh, we got C
it's
Law
really
coming
good.
in. He used to
Hmm.
come in quite a bit.
Okay, hello.
I'll, you're really, really low, by the way.
We can't hear you, man.
Yep. Yeah, I have not seen that video. I look forward to seeing that with this. Is the slinky attached? So you said the slinky is attached to the ping pong ball. Would they drop the bottle of
Yeah, it
water
is.
in it? It's attached. Yeah.
Yep.
Huh.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'd have to
it's in the
digest
private
that.
chat. You can just, and there's other experiments to show that there is like really no buoyancy. And then William did the same experiment with a helium balloon in a box. So you have a box, like a cardboard box, right? And then he's got like a GoPro camera inside the box, right? So again, a slinky that is attached to the box, right? And the helium balloon. So just imagine what would happen if you hold on to the box and that helium balloon and the slinky. Well, like the slinky will stretch and the helium balloon will go up. Same idea with that bottle with the ping pong ball, because there's buoyancy. There's buoyancy with the helium balloon, correct?
Yeah, I don't know
But
that. I don't
helium
know the.
balloon will.
Yeah, but so what's it suggesting? Like, what's the suggestion? What's the net result of this experiment? Is that to corroborate, or is that to suggest that we are moving upward? Is that what that would? So, like, I'm just kind of
Yeah.
curious, what's this leading up to?
Because the idea is really the idea is, and that when William drops this box with the helium balloon and the slinky that is attached to it, the balloon actually falls to the bottom. There is no buoyancy. The slinky actually has the effect, because before, when you were holding the box, the helium balloon is stretching the slinky. It's clear, right? It's clear. It's stretching the. But once he drops it, the slinky has more strength than the helium balloon, because just like a minute before, a second before, that it was stretching the slinky, but now there's no buoyancy. There's no buoyancy too. There's no force pushing that uh, balloon up, which is demonstrating that there is no buoyancy at a free fall speed. And the question then becomes, what is buoyancy, right? Then what is causing buoyancy to occur? For example, when you have like a helicopter can only fly up to like 11, 12,000 feet maximum. Why? Because the propeller has to go faster and faster,
Well,
faster, because there's like,
well,
yeah, go ahead.
so would that be to imply, if so, if that implies that, let me entertain this for a second.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
basically, what else? So we would be on a plane that's going up, and essentially things don't fall; things are stationary, and it's the plane that rises. And I mean, would it be implying that, or is there another component I'm unaware of? So is it
Well,
objects not attached to the plane that would be stationary, and the plane is coming up to it?
that's what that would like, if you extrapolate like what that like would actually mean. You have two scenarios, right? You have like Earth being a stationary plane, right? It's flat. We know, okay, we're all agreed that the Earth is flat. Okay, can we
Yeah,
go beyond that, right? All right,
yeah,
so
yeah.
Earth is flat, and then we have a like a some kind of a containment, because you can't have a pressurized system without containment, I believe. So I'm still on board with that. Okay, but the question then becomes that when you throw a ball up in the air, you use force, you use your muscles to throw the ball up in the air. Then the question then becomes, is the ball coming down to the earth because it's stationary, or is actually the ball uh you know like kind of like sitting there, right? What is that, sir? I can't hear you. Like your audio is a little bit difficult for me to.
No, I'm not speaking yet. I'm still listening. Can you? Am I coming through?
Yeah, you're coming through, but there's still some echoing, some reverberation, but you're coming through louder anyway.
Anyways, there's only two options. Either the object is coming down, you drop an object and the object is coming down to the earth, or the ground is coming up to meet the object. And I guess you could imply that there could be third motion, that both are happening at the same time. But I don't think there's any, because like our weight is constant, so there's a constant movement one way or another, right? Because you're like, let's say I'm 150 pounds, and then so like,
Well,
like, and that doesn't really fluctuate from one to another. So yeah, go ahead.
now I could be wrong. I might be over or under thinking this, but so objects supposedly fall at 9.8 meters per second squared, right? Like they
Okay. Yeah.
accelerate faster and faster. I don't know how a disc going up would be at a constant speed, right? Like it'd be at a constant speed going up theoretically. And if it were going faster and faster and faster, it wouldn't be 9.8 meters per second squared. It would be every second, it would be something significantly faster than that, right? It would be either some type of
Yeah.
linear or exponential scale faster. So we wouldn't see, to me, if you had something like a bubble in water going up, well, even, I mean, it would reach terminal velocity, it'd reach its speed, and then it's as fast as it could go. So things
Yeah.
fall supposedly, either that, science could be a liar too. That's another option, but things supposedly fall at 9.8 meters per second squared, which is
Yeah.
means it gets exponentially faster. So that would mean the Earth has to go up faster and faster in speed as it's going up. And then
Well,
what would happen?
Yeah.
At some
So
point,
yeah, this is a very good question, and we talked about this over at my channel. And so let's take a look at an example. You look at like Bumgarner, right? The Bumgarner guy who jumped off a balloon, and then like it was like 250,000 feet or something like this, 240,000 feet, really up in the air, right? And so he reached a maximum speed of like 800 miles an hour. Now, that was like a so like imagine like like if an object that fell through like air hit the water and it's still sinking through the water, obviously the speed of that object is going to be significantly lower, right? Just like same thing, like the lower atmosphere is going to be more dense than higher atmosphere. So when you're falling from the higher atmosphere, you're going to have more speed. So he went up to like 850 miles an hour. It's like Mach 1.25 in the speed. But that was not his maximum velocity, because like there was a terminal velocity that he reached, but it actually started to slow down. His before he used up his parachute, before his parachute, I don't know what's the right word for it, like the technical term, but like when it opened, right?
deployed,
He was
yeah.
only yeah, deployed, right? So that was only like hundreds of miles an hour. So he went from like zero speed all the way up to 800 some miles an hour, and then start to slow down over time before his a parachute deployed at hundreds of miles an hour. So what I'm getting at is that if we subscribe to this idea, if we subscribe to the idea that Earth is actually rising up, as an example, then all this different material is being compressed along the way. So there is a density gradient, I would assume, because it's just like water. When you go to the bottom of the ocean, that's going to have more pressure than at the top of the ocean, but the same water is there. You know, right? I mean, you can't go more than like 20 meters, and then I mean, 10 meters. I mean, you can feel the pressure already.
Yeah, interesting. No, I'll check that out. I'd have to check that
Yeah,
out. For me, it would be a problem in a biblical sense, because God calls the earth his footstool. So coming from a biblical standpoint, right? It's immovable, right? So earth is immovable and stationary. So subscribing to the Bible as my ultimate source of knowledge, that'd be a hard pill for me to swallow. But I'm
yeah,
not against talking about it. I'm not against entertaining it. I'm not against because the more the truth is like a lion. You set it free, it protects itself, right? The more you pick it apart,
yeah,
you look at every angle that something could be explained. It helps you get to the truth, and the truth, I think it takes you somewhere ultimately.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. So
but that is interesting.
I
Yeah,
think
I'll
it's good to
definitely
talk
check
about.
it out.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's good to talk about. And then I just want to say, in regards to the Bible, there are people who are Bible believers, and they interpret the Bible in a different way. So, obviously, that's going to be a discussion amongst people who are, um, familiar with that, because I'm not so familiar with it, myself. So,
Yeah.
it's not for me to have that discussion.
Yeah, someone said, I don't know if it's true. Someone said Flat Earth Society removed the Earth going up thing. I didn't verify it. I didn't
It's
see it
true.
when I was out there. So,
It's true. You can go
so
to their Flat Earth Society, okay? And then they have a FAQ, frequently asked questions
yeah,
section. And then when you go to the FAQ section, there is a section called "Is the Earth Going Up?" Okay, so just go to FAQ. 1 second, I can share that. And there is a section called "Is the Earth Going Up or Moving Upward?" And they categorically says no. It's right above what is gravity. So there's what is gravity. Let me just read it. It says, what about, oh, oh, yes, right below what is gravity, it says, is the Earth accelerating upwards? And they say no. This is popular theory among some small groups to explain gravity, but it is problematic at best. So this is kind of their explanation. And I remember when I was on Flat Earth Society many years ago, because I haven't checked it for many years. The first time, this was back in 2014 when I first woke up to the Flat Earth Society and Flat Earth cosmology. I actually found that site, and they were talking that the Flat Earth Society
yeah,
believed the Earth was going upward. Okay, but
yeah.
they no longer accept that.
Isn't that interesting? So if they're, mainstream now, that would be very interesting. Like what you'd have to wonder what their role is in all this now if they're spitting out, uh, good information.
Well, yeah,
That's
and
interesting.
I think, like generally, well, what happens is like, people like Dell or anybody else who is kind of promoting this like upward motion, of the flat Earth. They always say, oh, they're a bunch of shills because they are, saying exactly the same thing as the Flat Earth Society. But that's no longer the case. We don't know when they changed it. But if you are a flat and stationary earther, you actually have more in common with the Flat Earth Society. But we know that none of us are flat earthers because of Flat Earth Society, and we are not necessarily upward movement or stationary because of Flat Earth Society. They're just an organization. You can accept it or leave it, but it's not end all be all, and they don't speak for everybody in FE. So that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. I'm just catching up with some of the comments. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch those. I'm definitely gonna watch those videos. I'm interested to see what they show.
Yeah. Like if I can just say one more thing is that like come on, like guys, we know the earth is flat. Like let's not mess around too much in regards to that. Like we got here for a reason, and we're not I'm sorry, like we're not insane. We're not insane, okay? And the reality of the matter is that they've been gaslighting us. They've been pushing this false cosmology, and they spent a lot of money. We talked about this over and over again, and there are demonic forces behind this. I mean, you have to think, why would they be lying to us like so hard about like everything around the world? And you know what these people are involved in. I don't want to go into all the details, but they're into some really, really messed up stuff in the world. And you think again that people like Will Duffy, I'm not claiming that he is, but like people like him or anybody else who's promoting the globe are like either they are really being naive. We talked about like they play coy, or they're presenting a false narrative and knowingly presenting a false narrative. So they're both face lying to the public. Okay. Now the motivation behind that, I don't know. I'm not gonna claim to know what that motivation is. But lie is a lie, and we know that. And whether that is by hook or by crook, it does not matter because it's not something that we want to associate ourselves with. Period. So and they're always
Hey,
going to present
I'll ju-
themselves as like being successful, perfect, amazing. Go ahead, sir.
yeah, I was going to jump in and just say I agree with you on that because this Will Duffy guy, when he showed up, I did a quick search on him, saw that he was previously a financial planner, and I mean, right there is a red flag. Financial planner, I know because I've known quite a few financial planners, and they're just like they're sort of what do you call it? Used car salesman adjacent. Not to say used car salesmen are bad, but you see, you know what I mean, the personality. And then he was on Jeranism and just flat out admitted he lied about knowing MC Tune, and he just had that psychopathic smile the whole time. So I just think this guy is sort of like you. I don't know what his motivation is, but he's as trustworthy as a fox in a henhouse.
Yeah, I feel this. I feel the same way. I don't.
And this whole thing of going to Antarctica, even they're talking about doing it for 3 days, and that's kind of one of the reasons I called in here. And by the way, how's my audio coming across?
How do you describe it? It's like
Not good.
topping out or something. Yeah, it's kind of but we
Oh.
understand you. Go ahead.
Okay.
It's better than before. It's better than before. It's
Okay.
fine. It's fine.
I tried to get my headphones working and I couldn't get them quite working. But anyway, so I spent about 3 years capturing video from the stations down in Antarctica because these stations with the cameras, Mawson Station, Casey Station, there's several. They'll have these feeds up for about 32 to 48 hours, and they rotate or they kind of truncate after so much time. So I wrote some code that would capture that, download it, and it's up on this channel. I'll paste it in the chat here, called Antarctic Streams. So a couple things about that. There are videos, and this is the thing I talked to, Jaron about it a few times. I don't know if I talked to Austin about it, because I actually visited with Austin one time. But there is something that looks like 24-hour sun in Antarctica. That being said, I don't think those guys, if they went to Antarctica, their chances of seeing, let's say there is 24-hour sun in Antarctica, or 24 hours daylight in the wintertime, which if the weather down there is notoriously bad all the time. Like, it's very rare to get 24 hours of clear skies down there. So, and you only have that maybe 2 to 3 week window where you're at the winter solstice, I guess, if you want to call it that. I guess it's called that down there. You only have that 2 week time period where you have that window where you can get in there and observe and not have bad weather. You see what I'm saying? So to get 24 hours of day without clouds in the sky, it's very rare. And these videos that I captured, and I don't know how many, it's hundreds of videos that I captured over a period of 3 years, shows every day there are cameras, unlike what Jaron says, and I don't know why people keep saying there are no 24-hour time lapse down there. There are 24-hour time lapse down there, and they're not edited. Sometimes they'll mess up, but I've captured hundreds of them, and I just frankly gave up capturing them because it required some babysitting to make sure it all worked. But I don't know if back on the YouTube chat, I'll paste a link in the chat here. I'll call it 24-hour sun, and this is playlist. Now the problem with these are not 360 pictures, right? These are the like Mawson Station, like say Casey Station, and so forth, where you can watch the shadows go around. You can watch shadows do like a 360 sundial type of thing, and that does happen. It happens down there. Now the problem with like some of these locations, like Mawson Station, is there's a hill in the background, so the sun does go behind the hill, and you can see it go behind the hill. And then when the sun is to your back in view of the camera, all you can do is watch the shadows on the pole. So I'd like to try to share one of these if that's okay. That'd be okay, Bobby?
Yeah, I'm looking at them right now. Go ahead if you have a favorite.
Okay.
I'm down in the Februaries right now. I'm trying to make my way to December.
Yeah. Let's see if I can get this shared.
Looks like these are all you squished them all down to 1:38, huh?
Well, that's the way they download, actually.
Huh.
They download as that.
All right.
Let's see here. It may not let me share. Okay. I don't like sharing my whole screen, but I'll try it anyway. Screen share. Okay. Can you guys see that?
There we go. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a lot of these videos you can go through. This is just one. Like I said, this one here is Mawson Station. And you can see this is on the 21st, so this is the solstice, okay, at Mawson Station. And you can see how the sun went behind that hill there. And that's, this one's only 49 seconds. Let's see if there's another one here. There's Mawson. Let's look at Davis. So people can go through these and look. And you can see here, there's clouds in the sky, right? So what I do is I watch like these poles right here. and watch the shadows go around the poles. And this here again, this is on this is February. That's not a good one. Let's see if I can find another 12/21. Okay, here's one Davis station on 12/21. But I put a link in the chat for folks to just dig through those, and you'll see these are time-lapse videos that do show something in some videos, not all of them, because it's hard to tell with the weather, but where you can see shadows going around like these chimneys here that kind of work like a sundial. See if I can find one that's good weather. Here's one 12/19. Okay, this is back to Mawson. Let's look at Davis Station. Let's try this one, Davis Station on the 27th. Yeah, bad weather. I have another playlist somewhere and I couldn't find it. $12.18. Let's look at that one. But anyway, I wanted to share those with folks who might see this your broadcast here, to say there, whatever people say that there's no 24-hour sun, there's several of these videos where you can see the sun going around. Like you can see now, it's behind the camera. You see the shadows moving around those various objects.
Well, can you watch the cameras for 24 hours, or you can only download? You said it downloads like this. I'm just curious.
No, you can't watch them for 24 hours. You can only download these video captures, and you can also see the time. Let's go back here again. Like you can see the time go by here. Occasionally, you'll see it skip hours, but for the most part, they're pretty consistent. If you look in the top right-hand corner, they're pretty consistent.
What's that black dot? Did you see that black dot? If you go back, yeah, it was like completely black. That was really weird.
Yeah, where the sun blacks out. Let's see here. We'll pause it. Oh yeah, there.
Yeah, right there.
So that appears to be what happens on these digital cameras. That it does that. But what's weird is it doesn't do it every day. So, like, I have security cameras on my house, and a couple of them face east, and sometimes they'll do the same thing, and the sun will be a black spot on them, and other days it won't. So I'm not sure why that happens. But yeah, that's the
one more
sun.
thing. Well, yeah. I just Googled this Mawson station, and its current location looks like it is 67 degrees south longitude. So it's like, like where they're going to be going with the final experiment is like 79 degrees with the Union. So it's like they say that you need to get to around 80 degrees south to be able to see the 24-hour sun. So being at 67 degrees south seems not close enough to be able to observe the 24-hour sun. So I just kind of wonder, based on their model.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so these look to be stationary cameras, but I think so.
They are.
When
I've used, none of these are 360. That's correct.
Yeah. When I've used the term, there's no 24-hour cameras, what I mean is there's no cameras on 24 hours a day. At least I've never been aware of any. So, I mean,
real time.
So when we say stuff like that, and we had obviously, it could change, right? You're saying it based on when I looked into it. But also, I'm super confident that we have AI at this point in time that could very easily, like AI can look at this and understand. I'm looking at a video. I'm looking at one right now, right? It can say that's a pole. I understand that's a pole. Just like we can interpret a photo, AI can interpret a
Hmm.
video and add 360-degree shadows. Like, and by making 24 hours down to, like, 80 frames or whatever it is. I don't know how many frames that is. It looks really choppy even at the minute and 39. It's really, saving on the compute power of some AI to do that. Like that's why the community has said, well, where are the 24-hour cameras where we can watch this in real? That would be hard to do because AI would mess up,
To
right?
do
Like
real
if it were in
time.
real time, and if AI messed up, then all of a sudden your streams, hey, what happened to my shadows? They just went away. If the like they do with the ISS, and a layer glitches out. So that would be so for me, like 1 hour and 39, or the 1 minute and 39, squished down things doesn't mean a lot to me.
Yeah,
But
it's a time lapse.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It would be nice to have those real time videos. I don't disagree. And there's some places it seems like it ought to be very doable, with less bandwidth restrictions. Like the Macquarie Station is another place. That's probably, I think, I don't know how far that one is, but that's probably right around the 66 parallel.
yeah. Well, you've got a guy who was there. Has I don't know
Yeah,
if everyone's seen that video. The guy he spent 18 months there, right? He spent a year and a half, and he never saw his son do 360. So, I mean, to me, you either have to say, well, that guy's a liar, or there's no 24-hour sun. And he's not the only one.
I agree.
You've got Kingdom in Context. There was one of them. The guy was with the Brazilian government. It was like, and he was talking like he's down there. He worked in Antarctica for Brazil, and he was saying there's no 24-hour sun. You see it go up and you see it go down. That's it. And so you've already
Right.
got guys, and this is in the Antarctic summer. So there's multiple videos of people there showing, and at that point in time, you're either saying those people are lying because it's true or it's not, right? You can't say, well, that year we didn't have a 360-degree sun, but then the other year they did, right? Like,
I agree, and I don't even think you have to go as far as to say those people are lying. Like if I was a baller, yeah, I think that would be kind of a Professor Dave move to say they're lying,
yeah,
just because you don't accept it. Um, I don't think they're lying, not at all. But one of the things that has bothered me over the past several years is for when they say, "Hey, there's no 24-hour video. There is no 24-hour live stream." That's right. Uh, but there are 24-hour time lapse, and I understand why they would put them in time lapse, because you can capture this 32-hour period in a small file. They're done, I think, in 5-minute increments. A picture every 5 minutes. So to me, that's good enough to show what things look like. Relatively speaking, but it certainly isn't a 360 view, which is what we see in the North Pole. Is
the problem is it makes it too easy to fake, right? You're talking about a tiny
I,
fraction of the amount of
I
frames.
so I'll disagree with you about that. I don't think it's very easy to fake that every day, day after day, consistently. And again, I started capturing these back in 2019. So you can see this is over a period of 3 years, like 2019, 2020, 2021. And I I did not study every one of these videos because I'd let them run for a week and capture them, then I'd upload them and that type of thing. Uh, but I never saw anything repeat. I never saw anything that looked like it was a repeat. I did see a few times, and you can see on these videos where somebody came and adjusted the camera, or someone stood in front of it. Like you'll see like 2 or 3 frames because it's like they're captured every 5 minutes. But
Yeah, but 24 hours of sun is what you expect, Or, you know, I mean, like, I don't even have a problem with 24 hours of sun in this, you know, because we expect the coffee cup caustic, right? We expect that light wrapping
Yes.
around. So I have no problem with
Yes.
that. But these don't show a 24-hour sun. And I do stand. I mean, I've been in IT. I've
Uh,
developed. I've written a million lines of code. I can just tell you, I know that AI could do this really easily. Like I know AI. I know that much about code, right? I'm not saying I'm an expert coder, but I know the government's
mhm.
10 years ahead of what you know, mainstream is, and I'm certain that even 5 years ago, easily that's the whole problem. If there were real time, that would have these videos would have more weight with me. But they don't carry a lot of weight just because they're so compressed down and they're stationary and they don't show it. They don't even show a 24-hour sun.
Is this sharing now? I'm trying to share again. Did it
Oh,
share?
sorry. Yeah. Let me. There you go.
Okay.
It is
So
now.
here's another one, and this is one that I think I uh, did a little bit of editing just to show. So I'll have to say I disagree with you a little bit, Bobby. So I think you and I have a very similar background. You've been in IT. I think you said you do like either system or software architecture. Is that correct?
I've done everything. I've done everything you could. I've been a router engineer, a SAN engineer, a developer. I've been
Yeah.
a project manager. I've been.
Same here. I've done kind of everything, and we're kind of similar in age, so I think we have a very similar background. I've done a lot of coding over the years. I wouldn't call myself a software engineer, but I've definitely done a lot of coding.
Yeah.
Uh, so you can
And
see here.
so
Go ahead.
you don't think AI could add in those shadows?
I think
Like
they
when I look
could,
at,
but I think the compute power to do that every day with different backgrounds and different unique situations. At least, I mean, now it's getting to the point now today. I'd say within the past year, it's getting to the point where that's can be done in a cost-effective way. But I say previous to a couple of years ago, I don't think so. I don't think it's
And I,
very cost effective to do that without noticing glitches. Even today, like when you see this AI art stuff, there's it's like easy to pick it out. Even with music, like this AI music with Udio and what's the other one? I can't remember. There's a couple ones. It's incredible. I'm a musician. It's incredible the music that some of this creates, but almost anyone can tell it's AI, right? No one is fooled by it. No one thinks it's an original
okay.
song. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
can I share also a video? This is a video that Awake Soul was actually using to. This is actually a Globe Earth video. Okay, it's a frozen South Antarctica 24-hour sun 4K, and this is over at Anthony Powell's channel. I just shared the video over at the private chat. But it is I'm over. It's like less than 2 minutes. It's like 2 minutes long. But the actual video of the 24-hour sun is little more than a minute. So if you want to take a look, let me share my screen.
Sure, go ahead.
Possible?
go ahead. Yeah.
Can you guys see it?
1 second. All right. We're good.
Okay,
Okay, let me just
I
play
think
it.
this is the fake one.
Yeah,
This is the
this could
one
be
that
the
came
fake one, but
out
let's
back.
just
Yeah,
Just one of them. I've seen many.
yeah.
yeah.
This is the
So you can
360
see
view, and it's 2018 or something like that. I think
very short,
Jaron was
but
one of the
I mean,
first
like,
people that debunked that one.
I'm not claiming that this is legit. I'm just saying that like for people who will ask about like the 24-hour sun, and there are no videos about that. We do have videos,
I,
obviously,
Well,
but
this
whether
this has
I
been
think,
debunked. This
yeah,
hold
this
on.
one's been debunked. This one I think is the one that's got the same clouds at the beginning and the end.
No,
Uh,
no,
Is
that's a
that one
different
it?
one. But this
Okay.
one's been debunked as well.
Yeah.
It's on Taboo Conspiracy, and I've got it downloaded as well.
Yeah,
that one's been thoroughly debunked as well. And I can, there's tells in it right from the getaway, the wording goes behind the mountains.
right.
I can't remember it.
That's a graphic effects. Yeah. And even the star filter on the sun, that's like totally bogus.
I'd have to look up the debunk for that one, but that one's been debunked. I can tell you right now, it has.
Yes.
It has been debunked. But there's better
Yeah,
ones
I'm
than
just
that have been debunked.
right. Yeah. So,
Um,
can you guys hear me? You're
yeah,
frozen.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you.
No, I'm just saying, like, yeah, what I'm saying is that, obviously there, if let's just say that if it is debunked and we know that it's fake, imagine the lengths that they're going to make it, more real. And then I think I would say that, like, I think it's becoming harder and harder to distinguish what's real and what is not real, based on digital, experience. Is kind of like, and I think they're better, and they're like, oh, people are kind of waking up to this one, so okay, let's scratch that, let's put something else that's better. What would be believable for the general public? So I guess you wouldn't really know 100% unless you become an eyewitness to go down there, but that also becomes kind of problematic. And obviously none of us here believe that you need to prove the globe earth by having to go to Antarctica. All we were
I
talking about
agree.
is that is there or is there not 24-hour sun in Antarctica. And but what information would that benefit us? Why that information would benefit us?
Yeah, I think I heard Austin say that if he saw 24-hour sun, that would be sort of a flat Earth killer. That's not his exact words. I don't get me wrong. I tell you, I'm a big fan of Austin. I think he was speaking a little bit off the cuff or answering a little bit off the cuff when he said that. But I don't agree with that. If we saw 24-hour sun in Antarctica, then we would look for an explanation of how that happens, right? That doesn't mean it's a globe. And I think one explanation is the coffee cup caustic. I think that is one explanation, but it would take further research. And I mean real research, like being down there and watching it. And there again, you only have those like 2 to 3 weeks where it's possible. And then in those 2 to 3 weeks every year, you have to have clear weather. And that's in some of those places, they just never have clear weather.
Yeah, but the coffee cup caustic, like, do we know that you should be able to see the actual sun, like reflecting off, let's say, the firmament, or is it just going to be kind of like ambient light that's going to be up there? And I think we have to be very specific about, what it is that we are supposed to see as part of the quote unquote contract of, like, let's say, like, I'm gonna believe the 24-hour sun, because we should be able to observe the sun directly, like from midnight to like midnight type of deal, like, and that only, not some reflection, not some thing. And if it's clouded over, do we have like also like, uh, uh, I don't know, like contracts for talking about that if it's like bad weather or whatnot, right?
Yeah, it'll be considered a fail, right? It'll be a null result, right? If there's
Yeah.
bad weather.
Yeah.
But no, there's not going to be. You would, the coffee cup caustic is just light, right? There's no, to my knowledge, there's no speculation of a second, like a reflection of the sun. But even if there were, you'd have a problem because you would see the real sun coming, and then you'd have a reflection somewhere. Like at some point in time, that they would lose their synchronicity, right? Like they can't they can't diverge and merge on on the two sides of your vision. It's just not going to happen. That's just the way I'm thinking about it.
I mean, like, the question is, like, should they even go? I mean, that's what I would say. Like, and if you watch this video that I've shared earlier with Burn the Corporate Fiction, they're basically suggesting that nobody should be going down there, because if we know what these people are about, and
I
what kind of
I wouldn't go with it.
method.
If I were them, I wouldn't go with Duffy. Again, you're only limited to 3 days. and that may not be enough time to find what you're looking for. I tell you, I wouldn't go with that guy.
Well, a
I
lot
mean,
could
I
happen in
wouldn't.
3 days. I mean, a lot could happen in one day though too. You know.
Yeah,
Right. I personally wouldn't go. If it were me, I wouldn't go on that, right? Just
exactly.
because of
Me
my
neither.
belief system, right? Like they want to protect this. They wouldn't for the flat earth to be true, for it to be true, it would mean that all the governments are in on it, right? And they're not going to let it be exposed, not by two YouTubers, right? Like if it is true, they're not going to let Austin and Jaron go down there and be, "Oh, you got us. We were lying, right? Like you got like
Well,
Obama,
even though
Biden
that it's
out and
still,
not go-
it wouldn't nullify the fact that we can see too far. I mean, I live near the beach. I can walk down to the beach and I can see 30 miles away, and there should be 400 feet of curvature hiding these 200-foot buildings that I can see 30 miles away. The Antarctic
Yeah,
sun
yeah.
doesn't negate that, doesn't nullify that. And that nullifies the globe Earth.
well, you know, there's not a
It's a false
24 like
dichotomy.
Yes.
you know there's not a 24-hour sun because you wouldn't have fake videos if there were, and there are plenty. There's been so many fake videos I've seen, upwards of 10.
Yeah.
And then you
There's
wouldn't
not a
have
lot.
people who have verifiably worked there saying it doesn't exist. Like there's multiple videos of people who worked there for upwards of a year and a half saying it's not, they would know, right? That's not something you miss, right? You don't miss a 24-hour sun. You don't overlook that in a year and a half, right? So
Yeah,
you'd have to
I
say,
think Flat Earth Banjo, he shared a video within the past week where he
yeah,
showed some Brazilians, I think, down in Antarctica, and they're off the cuff comments, right, from years ago. They mentioned phenomenons and how beautiful, but one of them was like, yeah, we don't. The sun goes down at
yeah.
midnight and comes back up at 2. That's not exactly the quote, but something like that, where the sun
No,
goes
I
down.
didn't say, I didn't hear that. Like two, I watched that. I watched it. It was on Kingdom
Yeah,
in Context. I didn't hear it like two. I would have caught 2 hours. It wasn't 2 hours. I don't like you're saying that. I don't remember how long. It definitely wasn't 2 hours.
okay,
Um,
but the point is that they were sort of just honest observers, not down there for. They were just
yeah,
doing their thing down there and reporting on what they see.
they even said point blank. You said the flat earthers are going to love this. He's even quoted as saying that
Oh, I
the
didn't
guy
catch
who
that.
is, yeah. This is like I want to say 2012 or something. Like this was an old. He really
Yeah,
went back and
right. It's
scraped up this
pre-flat
footage.
Earth.
And he said, "Oh yeah, the flat earthers are going to love this," you know. So he was, um, yeah. So there's quite a few videos out there that Kingdom and Context shared.
Hey, I want to mention
Um,
something else real quick. Is that okay?
yeah,
So, so we've got that we can see too far. We've been talking about Antarctica because of the latest kind of hoopla. I'll tell you something else that I think hasn't got enough attention that makes it real easy for anyone to see. Um, that is a debunk of the solar system model. The fact that we can see Venus and Mercury, anytime we see that before sunset, that debunks the solar system model because you should not be able to see those in the daytime. I'm sorry, say before sunset. You should not be able to see them after sunset, Venus and Mercury, because you would be facing away from the sun, and they are supposed to be between the Earth and the sun. But here's another one, and this occurred to me. This was last summer, and I was at my daughter's house, and I was like, "Hey, look at Jupiter and Venus up in the sky." You could see it was. We had like a week of just super clear weather, and before sunset, you could see Jupiter and Venus, and then after sunset, you could still see Jupiter and Venus. And I was watching Venus until 11 o'clock at night. Completely impossible in the solar system model. But the same is true for Jupiter. Now, in the solar system model, Jupiter is outside of the orbit, not inside of the orbit. Venus is on the inside of the orbit of Earth. Jupiter is on the outside of the orbit of Earth. How can you see them both before and after sunset? It would make sense that if the solar system model was true, it would make sense that you could see it before sunset only or after sunset only. Because you could say that Jupiter was on the other side of the sun from Earth, and therefore we could see it then, right? That can be argued. But that the fact that you can see Jupiter both before and after sunset basically falsifies the solar system model.
Yeah. Well, the three body
And to
problem
see
does
them
it
both,
even easier.
what's that?
The three body problem does it even easier for me. You know, like you,
Right, but
our
these
solar
are
system
things.
can't exist, right? It can't exist by the laws of gravity.
Yeah. So something like going to the beach or going to a body of water where you can have like a 6 to 10 mile view, especially if you can get like a 30-mile view. Those are things everyday people can do, right? An everyday person can see when Venus is in the evening sky and it goes past sunset right there. They can see that. It's something everybody can do. And I'm not arguing with the three body problem. I agree with you completely. That is a completely unsolved enigma to the heliocentrist. But most people don't get that. I've got a couple
Yeah.
of children who they're actually pretty good in physics, and I'll bring up something like that. Even the solar system thing, they don't get it for whatever reason.
Yeah. What else? Anything else? Anyone? We're losing steam here. Someone throw us a bone.
Well, I don't know. I mean, again, like going down to Antarctica, like we talked about this before. Like to go is a problem. To not to go is also a problem, though, too, right? It's because like now it's so much hoopla about this the final experiment, and everybody is like involved with it, right? And
I'm hearing that.
you know, and
I would just say to that, to achieve the scope of your objective, there's not enough time. 3 days is just not enough time.
well, it's irrelevant. I mean, like, you know, there could be enough time, or maybe there is not enough time. But the thing is that that's what's offered. I think it's 4 days actually, but you know, it's like uh, we maybe like the flat earthers who are thinking about going and say, well, you know, you know, 3 days is not enough, 4 days is not enough to achieve our objective, but realistically they will just say, I'm just trying to see it from their perspective. They'll say, well, we're giving you the ticket, you know, you're going for free
Yeah.
anyways, and we're only asking you for like 4 or 5 days of your time, right? And then on top of that, you really only need 24 hours anyhow, right? One
You
good
need
day.
24 hours of perfect weather, right? And that's very unlikely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it is or maybe it's not, but that's you know, we can't
If you
decide
even
now
have,
whether that's going to happen.
yeah, I guess if you took a camera that had on a hazy day, you could maybe get past the weather with haze, like with infrared cameras. But
Yeah, yeah,
if
yeah.
it's thick overcast, that even that's not going to work.
I mean, if anybody's going, they should be well prepared. They should get like satellite phones. They should probably get you know, a lens with a alpha hydrogen alpha, like, you know,
Just
filter.
uses too much data.
Obviously like a device that's
Oh,
going to
there we
be
go.
able to track 24-hour sun, right? And then infrared you know, filters as well. So have multiple cameras. Let's just imagine. Let's just imagine that Witsit and Jaren is going down there. What the flat earthers should be doing is like just give them all the equipment that they possibly need, you know, like gyros, right? Hydrogen alpha filters, you know, the infrared filters, several cameras, you know, cameras that will time lapse
Yeah,
video
a
the
lot of
24-hour
gear.
sun, right? Yeah, they need it, you know.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys,
And
my
if it,
connection dropped for a minute, but sounds like you guys held down the fort.
yeah, and if it were me going, I would not go
Yep.
on the same flights as that Will Duffy guy. And McToon, I think he's talking about McToon going too. Is that right? Will Duffy and McToon be the globe earthers?
Dave McKeegan is like, I think, the official globe earther at the moment.
Okay.
I don't think that's McToon's. Those are different guys.
Well, in my opinion, it's kind of a distraction, and I think it's only got like, I mean, it's a flip of the coin whether you can get any decent data down there, and knowing that this guy Will Duffy is already a professed liar, I just don't see any reason to follow a professed liar into the wilderness.
Have you seen this new video that came out by Dave Weiss? He talked about the simulation sun, how the simulation sun patent came out in 1960s,
Yeah,
and that could be a potential something that could be used down there. What do you guys think about that?
I think it's highly speculative. I don't think they would need to do that. I think, if anything, they could just chemtrail the sky. I mean, that's cheap and easy. They do that every day anyway, right? Matter of fact, let me bring something up. I told you I live near the beach, uh, and I'm going to try to put a video up on my channel about this. My daughter and I were on the beach in Destin. There's a place called it's like the Destin Cove, and these two small planes. They look like maybe World War II era planes flew over the cove, and I thought maybe they were a couple. It was a team doing practicing, and they started spraying. And I thought it was kind of they were spraying out of the back. They were at low altitude. We're talking maybe a couple thousand feet. And I thought, oh, okay, they're practicing for an air show or something. They continued to do this around this cove, this jetty. It's called the Destin Jetty. It's where the water goes in and out of the ocean, and there's a beach there. It's very nice. They did this for about 20 minutes and totally hazed up the sky. And we stayed there for 2 hours after they left. And even at this 2,000 foot altitude, these two planes hazed up the sky for the next 2 hours. And we left when it was getting sunset and the sky was still hazed up. And I got pictures of how I thought they were just like air show practicing or something, but whatever they were spraying, which I don't know what they spray in these planes that do air shows, if it's like a not nitroglycerin, but glycerin, like glycerin smoke. I don't know if that's what they use. But I don't think glycerin smoke would do what this did back a week and a half ago when we were at the beach. It was very interesting. It's like a little mini cosm of chemtrails at the beach. It's like they just hazed out the sky for everybody there at the beach. Well, it was
They
very
could do
interesting.
that. They could do that, and they could certainly do that in Antarctica, but I don't think they would. I think it would be a better move for them to use a sun simulator. And I mean, if there's a Google patent, and there is, like I've seen it, and I talked about it in one of my videos or on the live stream. I can't remember, but I talked about that sun simulator, and I think that would be a very likely thing to do, right? If they can put a fake ISS in the sky, and they have, they speed
Oh,
up there, and if you got something that's so bright you can't look at it, it essentially you don't. And then maybe you combine that with haze, right? I mean, maybe you put just enough haze there to where the sun looks convincing. I'm sure they're testing these things, but I wouldn't doubt it, because you want this to be a lethal blow. Like this is something concerted, right? And if Will Duffy is again, I hate calling out anyone. I'm just speaking what I believe. It is what I believe. I mean, if it's not true, sorry. I think he is a Freemason. I think his logo is very Freemasonic, and I would say this is concerted with McToon and FTFE and Will Duffy, and they're working for higher powers. And I would say this is, their goal is to do damage. That's what I would think. It seems like a great opportunity. But
Yeah,
for
it's
me,
completely disingenuous the
yeah,
way I look at it as well.
but for me, and I know this is getting redundant and it's kind of kicking a dead horse. I know this, but I'm going to say it again. For me, there's no outcome that can win for them. There's nothing that could happen down there that could win for them because there are multiple faked flat Earth videos that have, I mean, sorry, 24-hour sun videos, and those shouldn't exist. Absolutely no reason for having those. And then when you've got those Brazilians on there, and you've got this guy who went to Antarctica, and there are more. There are other ones I've seen. There is. I can think of at least one other guy I've seen that went to Antarctica that was sharing his photo library as well and talking about it. So there are multiple parties. If Flat Earth Banjo can dig up these people from Brazil, I'm sure there's more videos that go back that could show up.
Right.
But there's enough
Yeah.
testimony already.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned the faking the ISS. Can I share my screen again?
Yeah.
This is not a faking the ISS video, but can you see this screen here?
Yep.
Okay, so I got a Pentax K1 back a few years ago. This was back in 2018. I was just practicing my night photography, and this when I was doing some short exposures, like 1 second exposures. Believe it or not, this is the middle of the night, and you can see there's this spot right here in the middle. Do you see that?
Yeah.
This was very interesting. What does that look like? I'd say it looks like a barnstormer turned on its side, or it looks like a satellite. Would you agree?
It looks like an H to me, but yeah, it's hard to say what that
And
is.
I only noticed it a few days later. I was looking through my pictures and I thought, well, what's this smudge here? And then I zoomed in. And because I have this Pentax K1, it's a 34 megapixel uh, full frame, 35 millimeter sensor. Unlike these other cameras like the Nikon zoom camera, those are not full frame cameras. So this captures detail very well. And I even state here, this is what the I don't think I put the lens size on here, but this is basically a 24 or 28 millimeter zoom, which is wide angle when I captured that. So my point in showing this is if my camera can capture a satellite at 28 millimeters on a 35 millimeter camera, which is kind of wide angle, there's no way that satellite is 250 miles ahead. And I have done the math on this. To be able to see something the size, and this satellite may not be as big as ISS. My son-in-law speculated it was the Chinese space station. And he's not a flat earther at all. He's like, hey, maybe you captured the Chinese space station. He showed me a picture and it kind of looks like it. But our angular vision, I think, is said to go to like 0.02 of a degree of an angle. And to capture something the size of a football field 250 miles away, and the angular vision required for that would be 1/64th smaller than our angular vision. Does that make sense? Meaning
Yeah.
our angular vision is like 64 times greater than what is not greater, lesser than what would be necessary to see a satellite from 250 miles away if it were the size of a football field, even reflecting the sun. So I thought this was interesting. To me, this just shows that my camera can capture this. This is not in outer space. It's hanging on a balloon. I think it's a real satellite, but it's probably dangling from a balloon.
Yeah. I stopped sharing a second ago
Yeah.
because here's an amateur, some amateur footage someone took. This is probably 6 or 7 years ago, but watch it
Yeah.
roll over. Watch it roll over. And this is supposedly the
Oh
ISS.
yeah.
Can you see that? So this
Yeah.
is someone, I can't remember what camera they used, but this was someone who claimed to be an amateur astronomer who took this footage, and you can see it rolling over whatever it is.
So I've heard people speculate that these ISS images like this may be like LEDs or something on the bottom of a U-2 spy plane. What do you? That to me seems more reasonable than that. What do you think?
Could be,
Like,
yeah. I mean,
because the fact that you see it rolling over, is that claimed to be ISS? That video you were showing?
yeah. It was something I found years ago. The guy claimed it was just on a channel where a guy claimed he had taken it, and it was real footage that I can't remember if he said it was a telescope or a high powered camera. I didn't save enough data at the time,
Yeah.
but the guy, it was an amateur. He was an amateur, either astronomer or photographer, and he said it was legit footage. It would be hard to fake that. I mean, it's very convincing. Um, I don't
Well,
know.
so if you did have a satellite that looked like that hanging from balloons, I could see where there could be a suspension system with and with gyroscopes that could cause the balloon to move in space on a suspension system. Gyroscopes can do that. You can leverage against, you can have movement leverage against the gyroscopes and cause it to move. But let's say that's legit. It's a completely legit video. How does a satellite flip over in space and stop? They have no propulsion systems.
Yeah, well, that, and it would just,
And even if it had a propulsion system, what's it propelling against?
right.
Yeah, that's an interesting video. That's a very cool find.
So they may have used different technologies then, right? They may have gone through several technologies for
Yeah.
what's up in the sky. There's something up there. No telling what it is. It could be. I've heard based on the speed, it would have to be some type of aircraft, right? Like based on the speed that it transits the sky.
Yes,
Couldn't be a
that's
HAPS.
right.
Couldn't be a high altitude pseudo satellite, but there's something up there for sure.
And I don't know if you remember the days back around, I guess it was around 2017 or 2018, where they were doing the live feeds from the ISS, and even the NASA fans were calling them out because the live feeds did not correlate with what uh, what was on the ground, what they were showing from the ISS with what was on the ground to where the ISS was supposed to be. And
Yeah.
then after that, they shut it all down because it wasn't syncing up. It would be like a clear day all across America, and the ISS is flying across America. It's cloudy. On their camera, it's cloudy.
Yeah.
Sorry, we can't
Well,
see the ground because it's cloudy.
yeah. Someone said, how would you know it's an airplane or something to that extent? Like, yeah, you can't get how fast it's going, right? But you can see it's been filmed multiple times transiting the moon, and
Right.
you can see how fast it goes by and how far away it is, right? It's something that's definitely far. It would have to be something propelled at some high rate of speed, right? Like just
Like a
because of its
U-2 spy
height.
plane,
Yeah, it'd have to be a plane, right? It'd have to be at least a plane.
something that
Um,
goes, very, very fast, maybe 2 or 3
yeah,
times the speed of sound.
I don't think anyone's claimed to have measured its speed, but it's definitely going fast. Uh, man, all right. I don't know. For whatever reason, I can't see you two guys. I don't. Are you guys still? Not you still there?
I'm here. I'm here. I'm
Okay,
here.
cool.
I
Cool.
just yeah. Yeah. So lot of questions, a lot of questions. Obviously, you can't see like I don't know how big those satellites are supposed to be. Maybe like maybe smaller than a car, maybe a car. Like even if it was a bus size, like 250 miles away to be able to see something is ridiculous, right? So,
Yeah. What are we?
yeah,
Are
I
you
mean,
talking
like,
about? Are you talking about Starlink,
yeah.
or are you talk? What are you talking about?
Well, any kind of
About
so-called satellite,
Anything.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, really, but like I think it was I was on another channel and they were asking Will was on that channel and it was Sean G's channel and he was asking like will people have Wi-Fi down there and Will said that there should be Starlink down in Antarctica. So you know like uh
Huh.
who knows? Who knows if they will have a 24-hour Wi-Fi, down there or not.
Interesting. I'd be curious if they did. Um, you can go on
Well,
Starlink's website and put in your location, and it'll tell you if it's available there. That's how you do it if you're coming to the Philippines or any Asian country. You just go say, well, anywhere actually. But that's what I had to do. You actually, and it's very specific. Like it's you. I may put in my city, but a city 5 hours from here may not have it, or even 2 hours from here. So it's weird. Starlink has very weird coverages. You would think it have a broader a broader coverage than that, but it doesn't. But that's what I expect from a high altitude pseudo satellite, right?
or satellites being carried on air currents that are predictable air currents.
Right. Well, that's what HAPs are. That's it's a high altitude pseudo satellite. It's a balloon, right?
Yeah, right,
It's
right.
on a balloon.
Well, I wanted to thank you for your time, Bobby. I appreciate these things you do here, these meetups that you do. I really appreciate it, and hope we can connect again. So I'm going to drop off and let others talk. But appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Hey,
much.
thanks for dropping in, brother. You're always welcome.
All right.
Uh,
Well, that was good. Good talking to him. Good to meet new people and just bounce some ideas around with everybody, right?
yeah, anyone's welcome to drop in. It's always good to get fresh blood on here.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. I don't want to be your only co-host. I know and I'm happy to be up here. I'm always happy to talk to you, Bobby. But I want to give space to other people if they want to come on up and speak their mind. We got like almost 100 people over here, so somebody new come up, right, and say something, right?
yeah, I want to say that as far as those Antarctica videos, I personally do think it'd be very easy for AI to add in shadows. Like I think it'd be very easy for AI to add in uh, a sun, the lighting and shadows, right? It can see those things and interpret them and make them 3D. It can I don't know the word for it, but it can wireframe out the buildings. It can look at the building, understand it's a building, and wireframe it out, and then apply the the scene to it, right? It can do that, and it can do that with people, and it can do it with poles, and it can do it with structures, right? It can do that with buildings. It's not a problem. So I've seen that technology already. I've seen it. I've seen that done. So I know we have that. We've had that for several years. I know we have. And it's not a lot of it, if they're only giving you a minute 40, right? Like that would make sense. And what do you have? Like 20 stations given a minute and 40. So you're talking about 50 minutes of work. One computer could do that. You're talking about 50 minutes of, I just don't think it's a lot of compute power. This is my opinion, right? Like it's just my opinion, guys. I'm not saying, oh, I'm right. I'm just saying from my experience with coding and IT and just from what I know about, I don't think it gives me a better opinion than anyone else on here. I think you could have seen some stuff yourself. I just think we've had the ability to do that for a long time. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, it's kind of a moot point for me when we talk about this because like then anything can be faked, really. Anything can be faked at this point. You can't tell what's real or fake. So anything that you see on a screen, like like on TV or on a computer screen, it doesn't matter. And you can't distinguish whether it's real or not. Then same thing. If a flat earther says, "Well, I videoed this island being 200 some miles away, 250 miles away from this location to that location," and the globe earthers will say the same thing. That can be all faked. AI can actually fake that. They can you know make put the curvature and make it all flat and just as, so it can work both ways is what I'm getting at. It's like everybody's going to be confused, nobody will believe anybody, and then we can't take any data as like verifiable, really, because it can all be faked.
Yeah. Yeah. You, there, there's nothing you could do, right? Aside of flying me to space, which isn't going to happen, right? Like, but that's me being sarcastic because I don't believe in space, right? Like, there's nothing you can do. I will forever be a flat earther. Um, I
Yeah,
don't want to say I'm
what
not.
if they give you that experience? Like they could provide that. You can be strapped into their spaceship, and then and maybe the screens are so realistic that it looks like you're actually going up, and
Yeah.
they can give you the G force, to make you feel that way, and then you're like floating in air. Who knows what kind of anti-grav
You,
technology that they have to make you feel like you're actually
well,
floating in air. So like they can give you the experience, maybe even, right?
they did that, right? Have you not seen the video? They did that. There was a
No,
show. Okay, so there's it's a fun watch. There's a show. It was in the UK, and they selected a group of people. I can't remember how they did this selection, but they said they were going to train them to take them to space, and they took them to like Russia, some old closed facility in Russia, but they fixed it back up and painted it all, made it look new. And they had this guy construct a spaceship that did that. It shook and it had screens in the front that would look. And they all thought that they went to space. You can find it on YouTube. Uh,
is it called
he,
Space Cadets? Space Cadet?
it,
Is that it?
yeah, I guess so. I don't remember the name
Yeah.
of it, but
Yeah,
that sounds
Space
right. British. It was
Space
British
Cadets.
TV. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So imagine, and that was like a decade ago, right? I saw this a long time ago.
No,
Um,
2005. That's like 20 years ago.
Yeah, there you go. I knew it was old. I just remember it being old. Imagine what we could do today. For sure, you could fool someone. Much less giving something you on your screen, right? Like that's even easier to just give you to show you a YouTube video and go, look, we went to space. But for sure, we can fool people. You could take a group of people and let them think they went to space. I have
Zach
no
is
doubt.
here from Good Times for All. Maybe if the link is still available and you still got time, maybe he want to pop on
Yeah,
up and say hello.
Zach's always welcome. I'm always stealing his content, so he's always welcome on the channel. I've used so much of his stuff. Um, by the way, if you have a channel, drop it because I love watching videos on obscure channels. Like, man, if you've got a channel, drop it. I will sub you, and we'll definitely watch your videos. And let me know. Well, yeah, I'll sub you, and then I'll message you. But
Yeah, lot of good content, out there. You can spend really literally all day watching flat Earth content and still not have enough. So it's too much.
yeah,
It's actually too much because I can't focus only on flat Earth. I got other stuff that I need to do and other research that I'm also interested in. But obviously, this the final experiment. But that's a big news. Let's see. Zach says, "Would love to, fellas, but I'm starting the day. Thanks for the invite. Much love, fellas." Okay, well, you have a good one, Zach. You know. So, but
yeah.
yeah. So, like, yeah.
This is an interesting
Go
time
ahead.
for us to be on Nachiketo because most people are English speakers. A lot of the audience is going to be in those time zones, and we're in Asia. So would India be Asia? I don't know about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, Asia, like as a continent, is like Russia, like part of the Middle East and India, Pakistan, and obviously China, Korea, and all the way down to Southeast Asia. I think all the way probably to Indonesia would be considered Asian continent, you know. But like, yeah, like what time is it over there where you're at? It must be night, probably.
It's
So it's
it's
6:30 over here.
it's 9:12 p.m. where I'm at.
Okay. Okay. So you are only 2.5 hours ahead of me, actually. Uh yeah, only 2.5 hours ahead of me. That's not too bad.
Yeah.
And everybody in the States is like waking up more or less. So
Yep. 9 a.m. where Zach's at. 8:12. But yeah, I haven't made it to. I'm gonna have to make it to India. That's one of the few places I haven't been yet. So that's on my list since I'm here in the
it can
area.
be a little bit wild, It can be a little bit wild, some places, if you fly into Delhi, you're gonna see a lot of people, obviously a big city, a lot of people, a lot of smog over there. I don't know.
Is
Like, I
there
think, go ahead.
is there any flat Earth community over there?
I don't know if there is. I'm not a part of it. I'm kind of sticking to myself more or less. I'm a hermit living out in the Himalayas in a hut, and I'm like on an online community, so I'm active, obviously online, and just kind of building my channel, talking to people, and just talking about various issues. But I don't really interact with people like physically that much, you know. I probably should a little bit more often, but I get drained when I go to any a group of people like physically. Like I just feel like I want to talk about what I want to talk about with people who also have the same interest with me, and it's hard to find people who have all the same interests as I do because like we're really far away from the norm. You can say, like if you think about like a
Oh
normal
yeah,
individual
yeah.
having like a normal education of things like what we talk about is like way far beyond. Like it's like too tedious for me to get people up to speed, and that's not to say like people are dumb or something like that. It's like we're not relatable. We have to vibrate like around the same function, and then we can talk about these kind of things. Otherwise it's just like not really worth my time.
I don't mind. I really don't. For me, it's entertaining. Uh, for example, I teach jujitsu here, right? In Dumaguete, and I let the class know. I said, "Hey, just in case y'all don't know, I am a flat earther, right?" And no one said anything, right? They were just like, "Holy shit! I thought he was more intelligent than that, right? Like this guy's seriously. Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm serious." But they will instantly be like, have you read the book? It's like, no, no, actually I have. I've read everything you've read and then a whole lot more. It's like, but we never make it that far, right? So they're just bewildered. They're like completely dumbfounded that I could be a flat earther. But I'm like, well, if you don't want to talk about it, I won't talk about it. I just welcome people into the conversation, and usually someone takes the bait.
I mean, there are different approaches for sure. I think it's also based on one's personality type about like how you want to approach that topic with somebody who is completely unaware that such topics exist. I mean, like, how many people out there has like actually thought of have actually thought of like the flat Earth as a potentially a serious conversation. Like vast majority of people are going to look at that and be like, uh, you know, never thought about it.
But I've converted a number of people here already in the short time I've been here. Um,
Like in
that's
physical
always
reality,
gratifying.
like where you are
Yeah,
at,
yeah,
you actually, yeah,
yeah.
okay.
In the Philippines, yeah, I'm in this coffee shop every morning, and the owner's a flat earther. So if I don't bring it up, he does. One of us brings it up. There'll be some new guy in there having coffee, and they'll be like, this guy thinks the Earth is flat, right? And then it'll, of course, they're like, "Are you serious? You think it's flat? Don't you know we have satellites?" I'm like, "What? We have satellites? You're kidding." So
Yeah. Well, the next thing to do, I guess, is ask the flat Earth coffee shop owner to have some like flat Earth maps, perhaps, or some fun facts about flat Earth. Like the
yeah,
basic like commandments of the flat Earth. Like water finds its level type of deal, right?
what I need to do is bring him a Gleason map to put on his wall. I never thought about it. That's what I have to do because he's he's down low, always recruiting, always. So he's a good guy.
That's how you do it, like grassroots, boots on the ground and talk to people one by one. And it's really, I'm just not in the spot. Like I try to reach out to people through the internet. Obviously, we have more reach on the internet, but I think when you have like that personal one-to-one basis, it's like more hard hitting, because the internet is like whatever. Like people watch you for kind of watch another channel, so engage with that person. You can't really run away as easy.
Man, I was having a conversation with the guy the other day, and flat Earth came up, and I said, "Well, we really started debating hard." And I said, "Let's step back, man. I don't want to become enemies with you, but let's talk about evolution. I mean, where are you with evolution, right?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, definitely evolution without doubt." And I'm like, "Can you just give me one proof of evolution though, just like one?" And he's like, "Oh well, there's animals with four stomachs and there's animals with one stomach." And I'm like, "That's your proof?" "Oh yeah, it's undeniable proof." And I'm just like, "All right, I don't see it. I don't get it. Some were created with four, some were created with one, but the fact that there's one and four doesn't mean that one became four." Uh, anyway,
Evolution, I mean, that's one of okay, like, look, like, evolution is another one of those things, like, I would say it's, like, maybe top 3 or top 5 lies, like, against humanity. Flat Earth being, like, one of the top ones, and evolution being another one up there. It's hard for me to, like, actually, categorize them as being what the priority is, but, like, evolution, like, I went to school, and, I remember a kid who was, Jehovah's Witness in high school, and he was taught that evolution is a lie. And I remember everybody was like laughing at him, like, how can you, like, we knew about this for a long time, and we're being taught at school that evolution is real. How can you not believe that we all, came from a fish and stuff like this, monkeys and stuff like that? And he basically said, well, why aren't the monkeys turning into people now? It's like, oh, come on, man, but the reality of the matter is, yes, there's microevolution and macroevolution, like where species changing into other species had never been proven, since Darwinian time, 150 years ago or plus, where they actually, start to come. And then they had the pit down man, where they actually like put a human
faked
skull
it.
with a
Yeah.
orangutan jaw. And that was a big hoax. And there are other hoaxes as well. Like dinosaurs, I dare say, is a hoax as well. It's paper mache coming from, freaking China. And, it's just ridiculous the length that they go to, like, try to keep on pressing this evolution, evolution. We came from a primordial goo that's been like charged by the lightning and then turned into basic protein cells, somehow evolved into very complex single cell organisms we call eukaryotes and prokaryotes, et cetera, et cetera. And then life began after that. But, there's a thing called Hoyle's fallacy, which is if you you go to a junkyard and then you have a tornado fly by the junkyard, and then you, like, magically put together a Boeing 747. Yeah, good luck with that. You get 100,000 monkeys and they all type out randomly, right? How long is it going to take for 100,000 monkeys? An unlimited amount of time, somebody's going to produce Shakespeare. Not going to happen. It's like, well, no, there's always a 1 in a million chance. It's like, no, 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 there's no chance that's ever going to happen. Let's not kid ourselves.
Right. That's funny. Flat Earth Head just showed up, and I was watching. They gave me some videos to watch, but one of the first ones I was watching today, they was um, started off talking about micro and macro evolution. So just very coincidental that came up. Um,
Yeah, I mean they do. Yeah, microevolution of like adaptation does exist, and there is evidence of adaptation. Like like beaks changing, or these animals actually, so-called different species of birds, and then some are like a little bit better at like breaking up coconuts. These things do exist, but that's not macroevolutions. They're not turning into like a snake or a deer or something like this. They're still the same birds with like adaptations to their beak, right? Adaptations to their mouth, stuff like that. So those little things do exist.
We got wait a minute. We got Flat Earth Head in the house. If he wants to come on, let me drop the link.
Walt, hello. How are you doing today, sir? Hope all is well.
Yeah, I don't believe that there's ever been any addition to DNA, right? Like it's already, like, for example, it's something that's already in the code. There's a spectrum, right? Like humans can have a nose, 4 inches long, or a half an inch long, and you can breed big noses with big noses until you get the biggest nose, but it was pre-coded in DNA that no nose was going to be above 4 inches, right? You know, it's it's just how it is, right? Like you can't, you're no, it doesn't matter how much you breed, you're never going to get someone with an 8 inch nose, right? Like there's a limit. Um, I think that I think the code's already in the DNA, right? And you're isolating it, and uh, you know birds can have a variety of beaks, but if you keep mating the ones that have the bigger beaks, or if they survive because their beaks work better in the environment in it they're in, then they're going to mate, and they're going to have, it's going to seem like they evolved bigger beaks, but that code was already in their DNA. That's how I understand it.
Yeah, there is a thing about your growing plants as an example. So they have evidence of like growing a pumpkin, and you would have like a normal sized pumpkin, right? Like, I don't know, maybe a head size or maybe a little bit bigger. But then you change the environment. That pumpkin is never going to change to an orange or an apple or anything else. It's always going to be the pumpkin because of the DNA of that pumpkin. It's the makeup of that pumpkin. Just like human beings, you're not going to turn into a cat or a dog or anything like that. You'll always be a human being. But if the environment changes, right, and then you give this electroculture to that pumpkin, right, the right environment, that pumpkin can become gigantic. And they've done that with other plants as well, where they actually made a gigantic I don't know, watermelon and pumpkin and other like lettuces and stuff like that. There's like huge things. So maybe human beings can in a different environment be like giants. I do believe that giants had existed. I
Yeah.
think titans had existed. We are the size that we are now because that's kind of like the environment is like only allowing us to be as big as that we are. But
Yeah.
we're not going to turn into a dog, and this is where like the whole transhumanism agenda is being pushed, in my personal opinion, because that's another big thing with this like transhumanism agenda, and not to talk about what they're preaching at schools and the confusion of like the gender type of stuff, but ultimately it's about like transcending your humanness, because you're limited to your ability to think about things and calculate things with your brain. You're limited to be able to, you have two arms, for the most part, if you're grown. I'm talking about like, I'm not talking about exceptions, obviously there are always exceptions, but normally you have two arms and two legs and all this kind of stuff. Hey, Walt, good to see you.
What's up, brother?
Howdy ho, howdy ho. I'm trying to get everything hooked up here. Can you hear me? I probably have to go fix something. I know I do. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, we
My
hear
mic.
you loud and clear.
I just saw my mic do something though. Hang on.
That's probably better.
There you go.
Much
Now
better,
you're
much better.
now you're sounding good.
Cool.
I'm jealous. I don't sound nearly that good.
No, you guys sound good. That's why I didn't want
it's
to
a-
sound bad.
it's a
So
good
yeah,
ring.
man. I the thing I always go to with the microevolution thing is there was a species of moth in, I believe, England, and a plant, a refinery got built and started making the certain side of the trees get coated with like white coating, if you will, like ash or whatever. And over time, these moths developed skin coloring or dust coloring or whatever their coloring is to compensate for this change in their environment so that they wouldn't be seen and grabbed by the birds around them. So that idea of microevolution, I'm all about it. But yeah, sexy fish and monkeys and dinosaur chickens and all this shit that they just keep feeding us, man. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's pretty ludicrous. Oh, I thought I had fixed that. Hold on. There I am. Hi, everybody.
Yeah.
Well, sort of. There I am. All right, better. Centered up for a minute. Yeah, I've been up since 3 actually, but I don't know what you guys heard this morning, but Shell fell, hurt herself. Now I've got my back down trying to help her get around. So we're both just broken. But yeah, trying to decide when I'm going to catch a nap before my next shift with her happens.
All right, we got. Let's see if someone in the chat can throw something out here. Throw us a bone. Anyone have a subject? But Notch, I'm with you. So I'm curious, Walt, where are you with Giants? I'm with Nachiketa on Giants. I believe there used to be
Oh yeah,
Giants walking here.
just I mean I don't. When okay, so we have the original OG David Goliath, but then there were the Canaanites who, like, okay, well, who are these guys? And then you look at like so many cultures and so many histories, and then we have guys like Mike Stellium 7 there, who has gone inside of a mountain, culturally known as a giant elephant that petrified, and he found all kind of organic looking things in there, kind of mind breaking stuff. So I had already been a big fan of Roger and looking into his whole mud fossil university stuff, where he goes way beyond just, a dinosaur mountain. I mean, a elephant mountain, the giant fish and dragon in the desert, that stuff. Yeah, that gets like kind of like, okay, I don't know. I haven't seen one, but I do know that I have a huge freaking paralyzing fear of large things. As a kid, we went to eat at this restaurant and there was a giant marlin on the wall. Flipped me out. Didn't know why. We went to this place when I was about 7 or 8 called the Cowboy Museum or Cowboy Hall of Fame, something like that, out in Oklahoma. And in this big, huge middle room is this statue of an Indian on a horse after a battle. And he's all, his spear is hanging down and the horse's head is down. And it's this huge statue in this room. And when we walked in there, I flipped out. They had to take me out of there. There's a bridge in New Orleans, heading to New Orleans, that you go where there's these 2 black pylon things that hold up the bridge. And I almost can't pass through that bridge. Those pylons make me think about giant things. At the museum, there's the whale hanging above us all. Can't walk in that room. So racial history, racial memory, personal history, personal memory. I don't fucking know, but I know I don't like giant things for damn sure.
Yeah, I've never liked swimming in the ocean. I don't like swimming anywhere where there can be something big next to me. Like I don't know. Some people, that weirds me out. People that can jump into the ocean and swim next to a big boat, like next to a ship. Like people in the Navy that can jump into the ocean and swim next to the ship. That is the scariest stuff to me, man. There's no way I could do that. You couldn't pay me enough money to jump off that ship and swim next to it. That would freak me out. There's something about the size of the ship makes it scarier, right? It'd be scary being in the ocean, but something about being next to a ship that size just scares the crap out of me. I don't know why. So, but yeah, as far as like giants, man, I started collecting footprints, right? Like the footprint of God is one of them. They've got, Michael Tellinger was that one. These are in granite, like huge footprints, 5 feet tall. Some of them 10 feet tall, just massive, massive footprints in stone and in granite. And there's thousands of them all over the world, ranging in size. That there's no doubt for me. Some of these are found in the forest, and there's just no explanation for how you would make these pushed up, rough imprints in granite. But they said also that
Well, it
we
was
have,
it was muddy. It was muddy when that happened, right? It wasn't the same and consistency, but something caused it to harden over time, like kind of like concrete. This kind of a geopolymer type of thing. So that's probably what's going on there, right? And
yeah,
then it
well,
turned into granite, as we know now.
right. And what I meant is there's no explanation for how we would make it today, right? Like how would you form that out
Right.
of granite today and shape it, right? Like it had to have happened through some natural process. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, I believe there were giants walking the earth for sure.
So I have to circle back real quick. I just found the chat and went and saw there's people saying that the moth thing wasn't real, blah, blah, blah. It was ash. Okay, maybe, possibly. I haven't looked this far. This was 15, 25 years ago when I read all these things. However, antibiotic resistance is real. It is happening. It is a detriment to our health. The fact that these different things have become antibiotic resistance. There's pesticide resistance that happens right here in the industry of sugar cane, which I live in the state of Louisiana. With it has changed horribly over the years. The level of crap they're having to put over us that we smell and are living with. I mean, these changes happen on a micro level. At the cellular level, they happen. At the allele level, they happen. Anyway, I had to clear that up.
Yeah. Well, and I definitely agree that changes could be forced on us, right? Like you could tamper with DNA. There's no doubt about that. That's for sure. And I'm sure.
So adaptation is what evolution is based around. I don't think evolution is real, people. Good Lord, I don't believe I'm a monkey. Y'all understand that, right?
Yeah. So Tartaria, the Tartaria. Some people say Tartaria. Some people I say Tartaria. I don't know because I've lived in Europe and Asia. So, man, I can't get too much into it because the whole, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but the whole Tartaria thing would put you past like a 6,000 year, because I believe in like a young creation, right? Like I believe in a 6,000-year-old. I believe we humans go back to 6,000 years. That's my belief, right? That's where I'm at. And Tartaria would violate that, right? Like the people, Tartarians.
Wondering, I have to know, Bobby, why do you think? Well, okay, this iteration, yeah, absolutely. And you don't think there's anything before that?
Well, biblically, it's not. At least I missed it if it is spoken about. Like I've never seen that in any biblical literature. So I
So
default to
who
the
were the
Bible.
guys? I mean, I'm just saying, who were the guys in the East? Who were they? And like the Elohim obviously were the we that were creating the humans. So, I mean, to me, there's way many levels that you can get to with the Bible that takes it way beyond the history we know. I mean, 6 days, come on, man. That had to be like eons of things and creation and trying this and trying that. I don't know. That's just been my original take. Was there's no way that 6 days had to be compressed time,
Well, it
period. I
would
mean, that just had to be.
it wouldn't be impossible for if you believe in a omniscient and omnipotent God. Like, and I mean, anything would be possible, right? But then if you go, like, if you're subscribing to I mean, would you be thinking that like that the Elohim evolved? Is that what the thought process is? That Tartari, that like angels were living on Earth? Uh, I don't know. I haven't gone down Tartaria Road. I haven't. It's just because it kind of violates the Bible. And I have a biblical worldview. So, but I'm not against hearing. You know, it doesn't bother me, but that's why I haven't been pulled into it. I don't see how it fits. Like same thing with Anunnaki, right? Like I used to be big into Anunnaki, and then Flat Earth pulled me to the Bible, and then Anunnaki went out the window, right? And I used to know everything about the Anunnaki. Like I used to be Zechariah Sitchin's #1 fan. I watched everything he dropped. I watched it, but I never went down. Like I'm completely sold on the Bible. My faith is solid. So
And my problems with biblical history are manyfold. I mean, once I started really getting into it in college with all the biblical college, the biblical classes I was required to take, then they got me excited and I started taking ones I wanted to take. And the Apocrypha, the finding of these jars and all these different assemblies and all these different edited versions. I mean, the King James version. Cool. Let's go read his demon book. They got hundreds and hundreds of people killed. Let's talk about that. I mean, there's so much. My Bible's in here now. It's not a book anymore. It's what comes downloaded to me. I don't know. There's been too many control schemes and horrible things because of that book. And it's so, I don't diss anybody for, it's got great things and you can learn a lot and it teaches you a way to live, but it also has hurt so many people in so many ways, personally, in my family, and not just, the generations and the whatever, the Inquisition, you pick it, the impalings, let's not get into it. It gets gruesome. So I don't know.
I think
I
there's
just
two
think
ways
we've
you
been
can.
here way longer than anyone has a clue about. That's just how it feels. That's why this place has been able to be
It could be, but
hijacked, if you will. Go ahead.
well, at the same time, though, we're like, I've heard this argument before, and it does make sense. People are like, where's the graveyards? Where's the bodies for these billions and billions or trillions of people? Like, where are they? And I mean, honestly, and then on top of that, like I've seen some legit places dug up. I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that places have been covered up for whatever reason. Like that's real, right? But does it go back 7, 8, 10,000 years? I mean, sometimes I think it's possible to lose sight of how long that really is. 7,000 years. I mean, that's a long time. Like there could have been a reset in that time, or there could have been. I think like I don't think that. I would imagine that Göbekli Tepe predated like Ollantaytambo and Cusco and Tiahuanaco and all those places, and a lot of mainstream uh, archaeologists put Göbekli Tepe at biblical times, right? Like just pre-Sumeria. And Sumeria would have been after the Israelites, right? Like Sumeria is, Israelites came from Sumeria. That all falls in line biblically. So if you have Göbekli Tepe predating these places, and then you've got mad technology with any of those places, you look at, Cusco, Tiahuanaco, whatever, Ollantaytambo, any of these megalithic places, like we can't understand how they built them. And I already think that was after Sumeria and after Babylon. But that's just my thinking. Like I'm not trying to push that on anyone, but it does seem to make sense to me that Tartaria could fit in there after biblical times, after that. But if there's something really
I'm
good,
having
like
connect. I'm having connection. can like I can't hear you very well. I have to come back because I do want to talk
Jump,
about a
jump,
little bit.
yeah, jump out and jump back in. Can you hear? Can everyone else hear me? Walt, you hear me?
I hear you, Bobby, but
Oh, okay, good.
Notch is definitely crackling
Yeah.
and
Okay,
cutting
good.
up.
I wanted to make sure it was him and not just me because I'm. Oh, we got John coming in here. Hello, sir. Dickie
Hi,
Goodwin channel.
hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I honestly I don't know if I have anything intelligent to add. I just really wanted to just join. I'm enjoying this, and it's all interesting and fascinating and important and so on.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome. We're glad you're here. Feel free to add your commentary. I don't claim to know anything. I'm just fumbling through all this like everyone else.
Ooh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm an idiot. Don't listen to anything I say. Good Lord.
You and me both. So, but Notch, you said you definitely wanted to add to this.
Yeah, so like my premise is that history has been changed and we've been lied to. Most of the mainstream history has been written by a couple of guys by the name of Scaliger and Petavius. They're Jesuit priests, and like basically, long story short, I'm just going to make it very short because it's actually another very complex topic. There are a lot of twists and turns, and even in the recent history, I mean, not to even mention the September event, if you know what I'm talking about, right? Back in 2001, you know what I'm talking about there. You just take a look at that narrative in itself. Officially speaking, compared to what the so-called conspiracy theorists know about it, it's a lot of nonsense. We know that, and that just happened 20 some years ago. Okay, they lied about every war and what caused all the wars, and then stuff that I talk about this quite openly on my channel, and it's actually very taboo topic about stuff that happened back in World War II and small hats and all this kind of stuff, and World War One and the Weimar Republic. So to go back to 1800s and the 1700s, there it becomes more and more obscure further you go back. Actually, we probably don't even know what happened prior to the 1500s. Like there's like not really enough documentation prior to that time because there are a lot of books that's been burned. A lot of like if we had giants, right? Let's just imagine like this. If we had giants in the past and they actually lived amongst us, and how do we know? What about some of these buildings? These so-called cathedrals that's with the doors that you can barely push open. They're like 30 feet tall plus. And we have punt guns, we have boots, we have like swords, we have all kinds of I don't know, like things. So you can say two things. Either they actually belong to a giant or they fabricated it. Somebody spent time actually making a giant boot and a giant sword and all these fake punk guns and giant instruments. And then they're kind of like trying to hide it and then make it seem like, well, no, we want you to think that giants existed, but we're going to hide it to make it like kind of like conspiratorial, so it confuses people about like what actually happened in the past. So there's a couple possibilities with that. So what it comes down to is the alternative historical research, because actually there are many tactics that they use. One of the tactics they use is called backdating. What does it mean? It means that they can actually publish a book in the 1800s or the 1900s and claim that it was actually published in the 1600s or the 1700s. Okay. So a lot of newspapers, for example, who claim that they were from like 1800s or whatnot, and then you look at it at face value and you say, oh no, it's definitely it says right there published. It's got a date June 21st, 1850 whatnot, right? In fact, that could have been published, and there could be a whole industry who's actually printing and categorizing and digitizing these so-called old existed newspaper that have never existed at that time. Why would they be doing that? Because there's a kind of an idea of invention of languages, right? Because like when we look at the traditional historical narrative about like the Bible, let's just say, I'm not attacking the Bible. I think there's a lot of truth to it, but like if you look at the traditional historical narrative about the Bible, King James version of the Bible came from when 1600s. right? Geneva Bible was a little bit earlier at 1599, and there's a lot of intrigue about how they have translated it, and people stole them, and then they were translated, and that the Gutenberg press, right, that came around that time that made the Bible more or less available to everybody else. That's just historical narrative. But what if the possibility that the Bible actually is not more than 200 years old? What happens then? Then we have to kind of question about this idea about the Aramaic, Hebrew, Greek, because like what we understand about like how the translations came about the Bible is that it's predominantly Hebrew, and Greek. But there's evidence, and if I can, it would take me kind of a while to compile because I have to go back and find all that information again. But basically, Hebrew and Greek, think about this. uh, Hebrew and Greek, Latin, they were like dead languages for more than 1,000 years. Okay, for more than and then the Renaissance came around, and all of a sudden, there's a kind of a revitalization of these languages. Okay, and then so the idea that the Bible is actually translated from these languages that actually were created. Greek, Latin, Hebrew. These are created languages that came many years later, okay, and not some thousands of years ago before. Otherwise we would have more evidence of that. What seems to be the case is that Europe, the universal language in the past was probably Arabic. And a lot of people have a lot of contention with that idea because they associate the Arabic writing with the Middle East. The Middle East languages, Moroccan, Egyptian, those places, they actually held on to the Arabic language because the Quran is written in the Arabic language. The original Quran was written in what's called the Kufic Arabic. But there's evidence of mosques which been converted into churches in Europe with Kufic writing in it. Jesus spoke Aramaic, which is a dialect of Arabic. Okay, so there's like a lot of evidence of like swords, coins, helms that have Arabic writing on them. And the question is, why do we have so much evidence for the Arabic writing in Europe and in America and in Australia? When in fact that we always spoke English, when in fact we always spoke French or Spanish, but these are recent changes that happened to our history. So that's just a little bit of a tidbit to what I can actually say about that.
So do you believe cuneiform came before all that?
Cuneiform, like Zachariah Sitchin, I don't trust Zachariah Sitchin is legit at all. He has been known to be a part of that secret society. I read a couple of Zachariah Sitchin's books, like The 12th Planet, and I forgot the other ones, but he had a number of books out. But that seems to be different disinformation to me.
Well, cuneiform's not associated with.
So this is the idea of the Sumerian.
Well, Zechariah Sitchin didn't make up Sumerians. I mean, Sumerians just like the oldest civil. It's supposedly the first civilization, right? Let me ask you this: do you believe that the Middle East is
Yeah.
the cradle of civilization? Do you believe that the
No,
Middle
not
East is the cradle?
necessarily. Like I don't believe this. No. No. The idea that the so like the historical narrative that the civilizations began predominantly in the Middle East, we call that Sumeria, and then the Egyptian time, and also the Indus Valley. So those are the three areas. Is what is actually presented as the most ancient regions in the past. But like I said, like the idea of like backdating, and then you can just like you can fabricate dinosaurs with like little hands and big mouths, and they would never be like anatomically viable in reality in any which way. And they created that narrative, and you can create bones, you can hide it or you can bury it, and then you can make somebody go find it, and then they're like, oh, I found a bronchiosaurus, or whatever. We don't really know what that bone belonged to. Maybe it was a giant, or maybe it was a part of a whale. We don't really actually know, because we know that sea level has risen in the past. Just the same in the past, the idea of Sumeria, Assyria, and these areas that we're attributing to the most, and then if you talk about that, there's also a problem with like Enki and Enel and like the coming down of Anunnaki as well, because essentially a lot of the researchers are saying like these civilizations just came out of nowhere, and they already had language, they already had law, they already had the know-how to build a civilization. So that's problematic to like how they came about. So what I'm saying is that is all fabrication, is what I'm getting at. Okay,
Well,
that's I think like the modern civilization as we know it comes from Europe and Russia, and then that spread over to America, and then I think in America
we might have
and
lost you.
buildings, and Australia as the mud flood. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead. You're back.
Yes. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is that civilization existed, and this narrative about like America being colonized by Europeans, and then we did the Magna Carta, and then the 1800s, like the Wild West, and then we're gonna take wagons over there to San Francisco and build a city with the 49ers thing does not make a whole lot of sense in my personal opinion.
I have a kind of follow up to what you were talking about just now, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So because it's quasi related because of the concept of the Tartaria, the false history. The reason why Tartaria stuff appeals to me is because I can see how utterly easy it would be to 100% replace the history. You just won, and it should only one generation would do it. And so what I've been wondering about a lot with the July 4th coming up, we have in America, we've got these beautiful words written: the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, which are basically they're eloquent words to give us freedom, and they're expressing a written grievance, against another country, England or whatever. And but the thing about it is, why would you fight a war, win, and then literally down to dotting the I's and crossing the T's, adopt every single one of the negative systems that government had? Why would you then institute them here? How does that make sense to anybody, to have these eloquent words about freedom and so on? Yet what did we do? British common law, our 14 million laws, it's all British common law. What did we fight against? Oh, the tyranny of the lords. I'm struggling to pay my landlord right now. Why are we even still calling them lords? I thought Jesus was Lord. I mean, I don't. I just and then of course so basically it was just the invention of micromanagement, and even the taxes. Are you kidding me? Supposedly the true, revolt or revolution was sparked by because of taxes. But what do we do? What are we doing now? So we're still paying and subservient to the lords, subjugated by the lords even. And I can define that. And we're paying all the taxes, and we're using the law, the entire structure of the country we beat, in order to win freedom from. So I just, July 4th, coming up. And I just thought I'd, bring that up. I think it ties in when it comes to a false history being created. What if the victors, what if, it's really, we were never really freed from the crown, that's the hidden hand, the they, these royal families are the
Yeah,
they.
yeah. I agree with you. That's a kind of a good cover story about how we fought against King George, and we became quote unquote independent. But maybe actually the reality of the matter is that every one of us is a slave. because money is the biggest religion in the world. It's all just fiat currency. They decreed it by decree. And then it doesn't matter if you have a ruble or a rupee or a peso or a dollar. They're all pegged to each other. They're just the different facets of the same monster that we're having to deal with. And we know about the straw man. We know that common law exists, and we also understand that when you're born by the doctors, the docking unit, and then you are a vessel, and then when your placenta is cut away from you, that is the better half, so to speak. And then they create a straw man where they trade you like livestock. Okay, so all those things exist. That's documented. Is well known.
Going back to something you said earlier, you said you had a problem with the first civilization coming out with language and math, and I mean they had more than that, right? Like Sumeria, they had trigonometry, they had time. They gave us a base 60 time system that we still use. I mean, so if you believe in cuneiform and that was the first language, at least if you subscribe to that, they wrote in there how they said, hey, we were made to serve them. Our gods made us, and they taught us this language, and they told us to write all this down, and they wrote a book of their creation, right? And that's what became our Bible. So I mean, to me, that's perfectly viable, right? So because at some point in time you're subscribing to something, well, you're subscribing to no written history over some written history, right? Like that's the whole thing with Tartaria. Is if you say basically Tartaria has, you're saying I'm just going to make up my own truth 100% because I'm saying that anything that's written is false because it's written because winners write the history. Therefore,
No,
then
no, that's
what's
not the
your
way to look.
then
Yeah,
what would be
so
your
I
measuring stick? How do you get there?
Well, yeah, that's a good question, and that's a fair and legitimate question. So, like, the initial premise is that can we trust whatever historical narrative that they gave you? And we can probably unanimously say that that's not where everybody's at, because we can understand that they are capable of lying and they are going to lie, right? Then again, when you go back and what is the forensic approach to discovering what the quote unquote truth is, right? When you go into, let's say, the research about say dinosaurs or stratus, so you look into Michael Cremo's work and then say, well, actually it's not true. Deeper you dig, that it is older, because we found things that is quite deep that seem to be quite recent, so there's something else that's going on. So there's whatever the narrative that they give you about how to know the truth of things has to be tossed out the window. As far as historical narrative is concerned, the measuring stick is this is just my opinion on it. Like Flamenco takes a look at it. So we have what is called astronomy, which actually doesn't exist. It is actually astrology. What I mean by that is that if you believe in a flat Earth cosmology, you look up in the sky, there's a pattern. It's a sky clock. That's what Crow says, and I 100% concur that it is a sky clock. Now, just like a clock, when you wind back the minute clock, right, the hour goes back. That's a very simplified form of that clock, right? So you can know, like, by how many revolutions a minute, and then you can go back. Well, it's going to be a 11. It's going to be a 12. You can look at the sky, no different, and then you can look at the position of the stars and the constellations, right? So-called stars, right? Obviously, I'm talking about the planets, right? Position of the planets and where they are relative to each other, and you know what time it is. This is the universal clock. Okay, so when you go back, and let's say you go back to a time of Egyptian setting, and then there's documentation about, like, because there is a considerable documentation about this happened, and the sky looked like this. Okay, whether it's coming from Egypt, whether it's coming from India, whether it's coming from Europe or Russia, it doesn't matter. They say that the sky has these constellation and these stars were at this locations, and then when you actually start like rewinding it back, you can come up with like two or three different numbers according to the timeline that we are in now. And we can say, well, we can go back 400 years or 800 years or 1200 years based on that specific combination. That's the standard. That's a standard that you can actually operate off of. Does it make sense?
Yeah, I have no problem with that, but I don't understand how that correlates to Tartaria.
Yes, well, it does correlate to Tartaria because what if the birth of Jesus was not 2,000 years ago, as we've been told? Okay, and how do we know? Because of Bethlehem, the Star of Bethlehem. And people will say that some people believe, according to the research, that actually that was a quote unquote supernova. Now, I'm not here to say that I know what a supernova is or is not, but if people knew what the location, or we do have a biblical uh, uh, what do you call it? The eclipse, right? Like during the Jesus's death, as an example, right? Eclipse, yeah, right. And how
Okay,
do they calculate for the eclipse over at NASA? They use
sorrow,
a system. Go ahead.
but you can still use sorrow cycles.
Fred
Yeah, that's what they
Spinach.
use. They use spiral cycles. Yeah, that's what they use. It's something that's a pattern that happens over and over again, and you don't, and it would actually not function with all these movements that we know of. We are already flat earthers. We know that we are all beyond that saying. So using the sorrow system, that's the astrological. Okay, not astronomical. That's astrological. That's astrology in essence. Okay, because astrology shows you that there's a pattern to every planet movement, pattern to the moon movement, pattern to the sun movement, and there's a cycle to all these movements. They
I
differ
think
with each other, of course. Some are
that's
18 years. Go ahead.
that's astronomy, right?
No,
Astrology's
astronomy. No, like what I'm getting at is that astronomy doesn't actually exist because astronomy is their presentation of what they think the sky should be doing, but that can never work in a rotating, revolving around the sun and sun going away, like sun as a unit with all the planets going around the galaxy and the galaxy all moving away from each other. The constellations can possibly, they will be parallax, and so there's a lot of problem with quote unquote astronomy. Astronomy, what I'm getting at, does not really exist. And astrology doesn't have to be
You
like this
mean that
prediction
it's
and,
just
you know,
like how they took alchemy and took the real parts of it away, and that became chemistry and science and all the bullshit.
right.
Same thing with
Yeah.
astrology became astronomy, and they took the real shit away from it. Absolutely.
okay. Well, I've always
Yeah. So
considered
people,
astrology like tarot cards and stuff, right? Like I've never taken astrology
well, that's the
serious.
thing.
Like,
Well, no, and,
That's
and
why they
I'm
put
not
it in
saying
the
that you should.
newspaper and made it like find your love, and they turned it stupid. Why do you think billionaires have personal astrologers?
all right,
It's
Yeah. Well,
legit.
the old adage, right? The old adage that millionaires don't believe in astrology, but billionaires do. Everybody has heard that, right?
well, I think that's
Astrology.
and it has to do with witchcraft, right? It has to do with like, and then that goes to the Bible, right? You don't do anything. You don't pray to any other gods. You don't sacrifice to any other gods. You don't like it goes in the face. I think and I know this is a little bit taboo and some people aren't gonna like it, but to me, like astrology is like it's like one step away from Satanism, right? Because you're now you're worshiping false gods, false idols. Like that's just me. Like that's
Well,
that, that's
that's
that's my
fine,
wife.
and I'm not here. I'm not here to promote any one specific astrology. When I'm talking about that, what astrology compared to astronomy, where they differ is that astrology has a pattern. Astrology has a pattern which fits the sky clock as we know it to be the case. I'm not promoting so-called predictions. I'm not saying that like you're going to be a certain kind of
Okay,
personality. I
so
do
well, okay,
subscribe to it.
so right, so because astrology has an esoteric side. I guess that's my point. That's where I was going with it, right? Astrology has a secret, an esoteric side to it, and that to me has always been, well, I mean, for lack of better words, laughable.
Okay, let's just call it sky clock, then everybody will be happy. Let's not
I'm,
call it
I'm,
astronomy. Let's not call it
I'm,
astrology.
I'm
And
not trying to fight about
okay,
it.
let's just call it.
I'm just, yeah. All right. Okay. We'll do that. Go ahead.
No, I mean
I
that's
think,
why Crow calls it the sky clock because there's a pattern to it, right? That's all. I'm getting to the point
yeah,
that there's a pattern to it, and that's the standard in which that we can go by. Simply put.
yeah, yeah. I
I,
did a
I
video on it as well. I called it the celestial clock, but yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
John, were you going to say something, sir?
Yeah, it's I could get started on the astrology and UAP and all kinds of stuff, but the one that stuck in my head for some reason, I don't know if we could even talk about it, that it's just a curious question, a genuine question, which is um, about the with the history stuff again. If that big bad thing, right, that they tell us happened during World War II, if that didn't happen, what's the replacement for it? What really did happen? Is that something that we know or that we can even discuss? Or because I'm just that's the thing I've been pondering over that since 2020.
I don't know if we
To-
really want to go into that topic, to be honest. I
under,
mean, there's
yeah,
a lot I can talk about, but
yeah,
I prefer not
I,
to
yeah,
bomb this channel. I don't mind bombing my own channel because that's my channel and I do talk about it. But like, I would have to be going into some very dire information, so to speak, right?
okay.
I know, man.
To
We
be
just
talking
got
about
Bobby
that.
live again. We don't want to knock him off the air already.
Okay, sorry. Sorry.
Hey,
Well, in
we can
that
talk
case,
about, yeah, as
well,
long as it
no,
doesn't get as long as I don't get a strike, we're good. I'm ready to go down any road. If you guys want to go down a road, we'll go down it.
yeah,
But
no, I didn't. I'm just bringing up the things that because this whole thing for me really began in 2020. Like the first time somebody said that event that happened in on a certain date
Yeah, yeah.
with buildings.
Yeah,
I
yeah, we call it the September event just to make it
Yeah,
simpler
the
without
first
having
time
to
somebody
say the numbers actually, because then the algorithm has a harder time. We don't know what September event, but we all know what that. So we have to use code when we are talking about these type of topics. Even the
the,
2020 event, I call it the 2020 event because we know all, what happened during that time, right? The wiggle, right? Everybody's dancing.
the wiggle, right? And yeah, I mean, oh, see, that's another one. I mean, I was in and out of the hospital during that time, and I'm here to tell you, it was vacant. All of the medical facilities that I was going to in California at the
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
they were empty. It was so I got it was like being at a hotel where they upgrade you to a suite. That's for me, literally. That's what it was like for me because there was nobody there. So, but anyways, I
Yeah.
that's but for that other thing, I understand that's too whatever. But but for the
Well, even
astrology
this
stuff,
topic, yeah, even this topic is a little bit on the edgy side of things because, like, if you're going to go talk about the 2020 event, then you're going to have to talk about a lot of things that's associated with that. Not only the wiggle and the existence there or lack of existence thereof, but again, we have to always throw out a caveat that we're not doctors and we do abide by the WHO, the wink wink, and CDC is our God, wink wink, and et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of disclaimers that has to be thrown out there.
the thing I would say about the astrology stuff though is just that because I get it, like as far as what the Bible warns against, but then the Bible also says, to that God put those items up there to use as not just for seasons but for signs, and so that clock, He made the clock for us to follow the clock, and so if the clock is guiding us in one way or another, maybe there is something to that, particularly
Yeah, agreed.
if a professional astrology chart is extremely accurate. I guarantee you, if you looked at Elon Musk's astrology chart, it would flat out say, tech. He's famous, rich, he's doing tech. He's it would be very specific. Like it's not going to say you'll be a janitor. It's going to say he's tech. That kind of accuracy.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. Out of all the bad guys we talk about, the one everyone seems to love is Elon Musk. And what is he doing? He's implementing. He's like Dr. Frankenstein, man. He's implementing the three things you need to basically turn everyone on Earth into a remote control robot, literally.
Yeah,
If
John.
if
John,
Yeah,
like Elon Musk is just just he's just like a figurehead. Okay, no
A
different from
terrible
Trump, and no
actor?
different. Yeah, he's just an actor. They're all actors. Bill Gates an actor. Who else? And yeah, they supposedly have billions of dollars. We really don't know how rich or poor they are, other than what the newspapers tell us about how There's no possible way. I don't care how smart you are that you can actually be a CEO of like 10 different companies out there and then do all this kind of stuff. So he's just a guy who goes around. They pay him to act like because like the real people are behind the scenes and they're the ones who are pulling the strings. Elon Musk is just playing a character, just like everybody else that we see on TV. Like 90% of them, they're all actors.
I believe
Period.
that.
Uh, So Elon Musk is not doing anything, is what I'm getting at. Like there are people behind the scenes, and they're the ones who are promoting this transhumanism agenda, giving the name giving that title to Elon Musk. So he becomes the fall guy anyway. All of our attention goes to Elon Musk, when in fact our attention should be going to who is actually behind this, and why are they behind this. That's the thing. What's the point of this transhumanistic agenda? It's actually to go against God. We know what the big game is. The game is that they want to hide God. They want to get rid of, and that's the crux of the whole flat Earth thing, though, too. But they do it through music and entertainment as well. You look at those awards and they say, "Oh, we thank we thank you, Satan,
Uh,
for giving us
right.
this opportunity." Like they're not joking. The joke's on you. You know.
I'm sure it's just a coincidence. There's a book about a guy and the son's named Elon, and they're going to Mars. I mean, that's got to be sheer coincidence.
Yep. Yep.
Mission to Mars by Werner von Braun, the Operation Paperclip guy, who and like I love this joke. You go back to 1960s to NASA and you do the Heil Hitler salute, and half the people will stand up and do the salute with you. you know.
That
Look, we've been lied to about many subjects. That's the reality of the matter, and we are still living in a stage right now, and we're at like 11th hour right now, guys. Whether you want to believe it or not, like with the technology that they got and all the things that they've been pushing throughout hundreds of years to get us to where we are now. This is why it's important to talk about real stuff, real things that's actually happening right in front of your door. I don't care if you're living in the Himalayas like myself, or in America or Europe. Real things are happening because they've been planned. They've been planned to happen. Okay, it's not happening
well,
by random, willy-nilly chance. They've been planning and scheming for a very
that
long time, and we know who
that
they are. They're demons.
that reminds me of something else that you had spoke of on another video or whatever. Um, you were mentioning, I think it was something to do with the history going on in 1952. I think you were talking about the North or the Korean War, where they were bombing. Where did you say that they just were just bombing Korea, or it was something like that. I don't know if you remember. Um,
Yes, that was over at my channel, and I talked about the Korean War. And Korean War happened between 1950 to 1953.
right.
Korea, all the way up to 1945, was under the Japanese empire control. Okay, my ancestors were involved with that. Basically, from 1911 ish to 1945, Korea was Japan. Okay, and my great grandfather was considered the Duke of the Japanese Empire. Okay, so like I looked into the history of Korea, and not I don't follow the historical narrative of any of these countries, but we can know something about recent history because that's well documented. But what I was talking about there during that time is that the bombers were ordered to go, and just like no different from England and Germany, where they were actually starting to bomb, like not the military sites, but they were bombing civilians. Are you aware of this, John?
This is what it made me think of. Okay, when you specifically when you said 1952, what and all of that is, I don't people these days, I don't know if they're aware of this or not, but with all of the UAP stuff that's been in the news, right? Uh, Guess what? it's not new. Every single thing is being repeated over and over again. They just drag it out. And so in 1952, the headline in every newspaper across the country was that the Air Force was battling flying saucers over the White House. And they dragged out that story, real news stories, okay, for the whole year. They dragged that out, that the Air Force, one plane was lost at sea. Another Air Force aircraft tried to shoot one of the flying saucers, and it got blown up. And then and they dragged it out, and then that there were crashes, flying saucer crashes, and that now the Army was now taking over to go to like the Appalachian territory in the U.S. where it crashed, and then that led to battling actual aliens in West Virginia. This was what the news was giving during that same time period. So I'm just questioning. In fact, it's something that was so influenced, the public psyche, that my dad at the time was like Ray Stevens or Weird Al Yankovic. He was affected by what he was seeing going on around him, and he made like a parody recording of to make fun of it all, and it was actually a hit record called The Flying Saucer, and that's what my YouTube and other channels are all about. I just keep his stuff going, or try to, the oldie stuff, and but I'm just saying that we always seem to see the I guess maybe is it a distraction? Is that all just a distraction from what's really happening? The
Well, I
UFO
think
stuff.
we're kind of getting off topic because, like, I don't know how we got ourselves to this tangent, because initially we're talking about Tartaria and how we can actually, address what is real and not real, and then we got into this like a war topic a little bit, and the 2020 event and the September event, and then now we're talking about UFOs. So we have kind of veered away from the initial pasture that we were kind of residing on. So what would you like to speak about, sir? Like exactly, like, are you asking a specific question?
Well, I'm saying that what occurred to me was the minute you said that year, I wasn't thinking of that year or that time frame in history as having to do with that particular war. But the minute you mention it, I'm like, okay, well, this is what was happening then. But in other words, instead of talking about the war, the newspapers were talking about UFOs, and the same thing is happening today. Is that we're talking about wars and UFOs, are what are in the news. So is it just a distraction from what's real, from what we should be paying attention to?
Which is, what should we be paying attention to?
Well,
Would
in
be
other
my
words,
question.
could this UFO type stuff actually just be a distraction from, say, the
It
wars
could
that
be,
you're?
but from what? Oh, okay. So like the wars are the actual things that's happening, and the UFO that is being actually promoted, or like going around in the newspaper is a distraction, so people won't think about what's happening over in Korea. Is what you're getting at? Yes.
That kind of thing, yes, yeah. That they are hiding, that they use those things to test new military equipment that we don't know about, and then to fund the big bankers and that kind of stuff. And it's really, you know, just a distraction that
It's
they're
a it's
creating.
a it's a The distraction thing is complex, but there's a couple ways to do the distraction thing in my mind. You can hide secrets out in the open. They often use this tactic, right? They call it the revelation of the method. They inject it into the movies, they inject it into the TV shows, and everybody has heard about it. They even make fun of it and mock it, like the flat Earth and topics like that, and conspiracy topics, right? And then everybody is somewhat familiar with it, and then when you start to talk about it, it's like, oh yes, I've heard that somewhere. That's so that's like the idea of hiding in plain sight. So that's a tactic that they use. But as far as like the whole Roswell saying, that happened in 1949-ish, I believe, and then like it's like kind of like at the time the newspapers were coming out as like, well, it's a satellite balloon, and so the way to go about actually hiding information, and the more effective way is through uh, uh, like to conflate all the stuff. So it's like you're under the deluge and you have to go down like 10 different rabbit holes to actually try to decipher. And you have to become like an expert at 10 different rabbit holes to know the discrepancies between this story and that story. And you have to become like a full-time investigative journalist to be able to come to any kind of conclusion. But most people don't have the time nor the inclination to be able to do that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So when you say that it could be a distraction, I'm not disagreeing with you that it can be, but most everything is a distraction. Football, baseball, basketball is a distraction. They pay millions of dollars to people who are very intelligent and they're athletes. And if you got a million of those guys and then told them the truth about what this reality is, we would actually be living in a new world right now. But because they're distracted and they're okay to be paid millions of dollars because they're fully focused on, tossing a ball down into a hoop or into a goal, or passing a certain line. And it's amazing what a human body can do. I'm all for that. But that is a distraction. Politics is a distraction as well. Exactly. What is not a distraction in this world? Video games is a distraction. So telling the truth and being like a hardcore truth teller in this world is a very rare thing. And I'm not trying to put myself or anybody else here on a pedestal, but that's the average. If you compare the average of where the human mind can go, being a truther is not where majority of the people, a vast majority of people are at. That's just the reality of the matter. I mean, like, to be honest, like if I look at here, there's 100 people here. There should be 10,000 people here, listening to flat Earth content. 10,000 people on YouTube listening to, because there are channels who watch video games. They got 30,000 people coming every time somebody's going watching a video game, easily.
Yeah.
And then and the cat videos get millions of views, but the flat Earth content
Uh,
get barely any kind of views, at all.
well, the tough thing is, man, is when it's so like everywhere, the distraction, and then the like I like that idea out of the revealing of the method, fake news but truth in the movies. I mean, we see that constantly, and I think right now with kind of what John's speaking about is, I mean, this isn't. I don't think this is the first time. Not even in the DC event in the 50s. I don't think that was even the first time. I mean, there's freaking Venomoths and ancient texts. There's shit on walls in the Egyptian. I think they've used things in the sky to distract people for a long time. The Nuremberg incident, there's the rods and the balls. I think this has been one of their go-tos for a long time, that they've constantly went, oh shit, they're paying way too much attention to what we're doing down here. Let's have a display, and here we go, and things are going on in the sky now. So it's been that way. It's a card they play many times. Now, will they play the big Trump of it all, the blue beam invasion card? I don't know. I think they've gone so far now with the popularization of that concept that it would be laughable now. I mean, look what happened with that whole Miami incident. It's a joke. People made so many joke videos about it, the aliens in the Miami Mall thing. So I don't know. I don't know if they can even pull it off anymore at this point.
I forgot all about that.
Exactly, Bobby. That's it. It's such a forgettable, laughable thing now. But that's to us, I guess. Maybe they could pull it off to the normies. But yeah, I think they've overplayed the scheme too many times now, especially with the shows and the cartoons and the T-shirts and the movie. I mean, at one point you had to know something to know what a gray was, and then suddenly they were at fucking the mall, at the, what's the store? Shit, I can't even think of the name of the store now. I'm getting old. Anyway, but yeah, man, when you can buy it at the food court, then it's become super normalized for a reason.
yeah, the stuff that I used to think of my whole life as being like pop culture, right? Oh, it's entertainment, it's pop culture, the escapism of it and all that. It's like all of that is sort of lost now because it's really you realize that it's really social engineering stuff. So yeah, so I just I'm everything now. I've got a question about it. Everything. So, sorry about the
It's a
tangent.
lot. No, no, no. It's I think it's good. I mean, I think everybody more or less have the very same or similar questions, and this idea of the Hegelian dialectic, we've all heard about it. The left versus right, black versus white. It doesn't matter. It's a Hegelian dialectic, and I like this saying by David Icke. He says, "Problem, reaction, solution." Right. So like people are. So when only way to get out from that cycle of like just always like reacting to things, we have to be able to step back a little bit, see the big picture, and see why the things are being pulled or pushed in a certain way, because that's the Overton window. That is the manufactured consensus that they want everybody else to be herded into. And vast majority of people are there because they don't have the time to actually do research, because I get it. People have to go to work, and they have to spend all day and all their life energy to pay taxes and keep their head above water, and nobody wants to like live out in the streets. And once you do so, you probably end up becoming an addict, and then you just want to go by the wayside. So these are the tactics in which to dumb people down and distract them. I mean, in a physically basis. But if people had the right information and right direction in life, they know how to utilize that energy. They know how to focus that energy. And I think we all can all agree, like, we are all here for God. Nobody is against God. I certainly know God exists. I know that the creator is here. I believe that I will never become God. That's a kind of a new agey thing that they want to push. I didn't, make this world, but I abide by the rules that God gave us. And what are those rules? That is called morality. That's called ethics. That's called having values, and I'm not here to what do you call it? Like put myself on a pedestal and say, oh yes, you have to be like me. No, there's already been examples like Jesus and other great individuals from the past, that they're the standard to which to like look up to. Not that I'm not a Christian. I don't call myself a Christian, but I look up to such individuals and say, hey, look, this is the standard to which to live. And if I can be a 50% or 25% of that, I'm happy. That's like my limit, let's just say, of how I can be. So there's a big game that's going on. There are good guys and there are bad guys in this world. And if people don't realize that there's a war that's been waged against you, then you will never be prepared for what this world is about. That's my opinion. Once people realize that there is a battle that's going on, battle for your souls, battle for your mind, battle for your body, then you will prepare yourself in every which way necessary to be able to confront that enemy. Otherwise, you just become a target, and you will be chewed up and spat out like everybody else.
The crazy thing about the new age stuff you mentioned is it actually takes you full circle. It begins with them saying they replace the word God with the word universe, and yada yada, and it goes on and on and on. Built like this thing where it's building you up to the point to tell you that you're a god, and what you
It's
just
the
mentioned.
transhumanism agenda. It's
But the
actually an extension of the humanist agenda that came from the Renaissance. That
but
idea that the man can become God. Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry
no
to
no no
interrupt you.
no, it's okay. I just wanted to say that because I actually followed that stuff for a while, and the irony of it, which was okay with me, it ended up back in Christianity again. It really it does. They have churches. They have the unity churches, and it's a Christian church. It's just a Christian church for people who believe in a lot of metaphysics kind of stuff. It's or for people who became
Yeah.
disillusioned with standard religion, got into the new age stuff and became disillusioned with it, and ended up back in church again. I just wanted to to share that it really they come right back to Jesus in the end is what I'm getting at.
Well, Okay, like the way I look at it is that a lot of religions and a lot of churches, a lot of Christianity has been infiltrated. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it there for that. Okay, like that's why I wouldn't call myself a Christian because like it's a kind of a moot point. Like then you have to go into like what kind of Christian are you? What are your tenets? And what do you actually believe, et cetera, et cetera. And then you take like 10 Christians together right now. Like there's 100 of us, and then you randomly pick anybody who considered themselves, hey, they raise their hand up and say, I'm a Christian. You bring them into a room and see what they do agree on and what they disagree on. You're gonna find that they're probably gonna actually disagree on more things than they actually agree on. Okay, that's an issue with labeling oneself, and then this kind of Unitarian church stuff that's been infiltrated, and this is another thing that is actually going back to this agape church that Will Duffy is part of. I could tell you very well that there are a lot of Masons who have infiltrated into the church. The Freemasonry itself has been infiltrated. Okay, so like if you really go down to the brass taxes of what they believe, they don't believe in religion. They don't believe in Christianity because, like, you go to a lodge, as an example, they will tell you that you can actually, swear by the Pentecostal. You can swear by the Quran. You can swear by the Gita. You can swear by the Lotus Sutras, and that none of that would be acceptable by a genuine Christian. You would only swear by the Bible as a genuine Christian. So, like, you can label yourself as whatever you. So we're dealing with wolves in sheep's clothing, and people have to wise up to that. If not, then they're gonna have to accept the consequences of what this war is. This is a deceptive war that we're playing right now. Is that understandable? Did I make sense?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I was just shutting up because I didn't want to keep. My point wasn't to derail stuff. I just everything here is just super important to me, anyways, and new and fairly new. Because like I said, like the first time anybody mentioned the thing with the buildings, I looked at them like they were just insane. People have a learning curve, and the thing about waking up to stuff, it can act well. At least for me, it's taking a long time, in my opinion. To still have so many questions, and like I say, it really, there was some stuff prior to 2020. I never really watched, like Alex Jones, but I had begun watching. I had bought his movie. David Icke had a movie out, like right before everything happened in 2020, and I bought that movie, and I was watching it over and over again. Everything was just blowing me away, and just for what it's worth, the thing with the buildings, I'm convinced about the Dr. Judy Wood stuff, the um the energy stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
that's
Well,
kind
you know what? Go ahead.
No, no, I was just saying that's the one that that when I saw it, I was like, wow, that's it. Boom. I mean, uh, right away, I that was the one that the angle that seemed the most real to me of what was happening.
Yeah, well, like some of us, I don't know, like I can't speak for anybody else, but some of us been doing research for a long time. I would say like a couple decades, and I do agree, Benny Boy, that Stavely probably has the best September event material out there. But you have to understand that there's usually multi-layered aspects to these events. And the September event itself was a ritual. Okay, it's the ritual of the Masonic ritual of Yakim and Boaz. Okay, it's the twins. Okay, so that's the whole idea of those coming down in this footprints. They began construction in 1968 and already had plans to take it down in 2001. That's 33 years. So, this Larry Silverstein and talking about pulling in and stuff like this is just kind of anecdotal or extra information, but they've already made those plans prior to 1968 that they were going to be building them. and then they probably already built into the structure of how they're going to take that down. So like the whole time, it's not like they had to install anything. They already had plans to take them down, so they could already install all the demolitions that was required for those years to bring the towers down, you know. And the energy weapons is that's been around for more than 100 years. Like when you look at like Chicago fire and hundreds of other like major city fires where stones are turning into like powder, stone and brick is turning into powder. You know, we've seen that during the September event in a video. Like it just came down and it started to we saw little explosions there, but also like beams and concrete that just dustified. Okay, so yeah, so there's a combination of things.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The wheat and the chaff thing is happening right now. That's a real thing. The people who are wanting to wake up to what's happening in reality, they are like going to be hardcore about like, hey, this is reality. I want to know more. I am thirsty for the truth because the ultimate thirst for the truth is towards God, in my mind. Okay, but then there are other people who want to deny the truth and they want to deny reality, and they double down and triple down because God is merciful and gives them the free will to ignore God because that's what they wish to do. But that's what's happening now. So people are going in two opposite directions, one towards the truth and one basically towards the devil. I don't know how else to say. Sorry, I've been speaking too much. Anybody else want to chime in?
I've just been listening. It's gotten out of my wheelhouse. So you all, I was like, these are interesting topics, but um, I was just listening. Walt, are you still around?
Well, I have one for flat Earth.
I am, but I left my damn.
But
I'm looking for my damn Skype thing. Sorry, John, if you want to go ahead.
Yep.
I was looking for my little window to unmute myself, and of course, there is no little window to unmute myself.
no, I was just gonna try and because I feel like, because I just have so many questions. You know, I feel like it's my fault that we're talking about stuff other than flat Earth. So I was gonna bring this back because I do have, like, I don't know if it's a question or statement or whatever, but one of the things that I had always wondered about flat Earth, before I even knew, right, about flat Earth, right? It was something I was questioning about, you know, what we're told, and what I had always thought was, how can if the Earth has this super powerful, is generating this torus, this giant powerful force field, essentially, that protects it from countless dangers from space. Okay, if that's the case, and it takes this massive, you know, Earth to create such a powerful force to protect it from all of these things they tell us about, right? The gamma bursts and the supernovas and the flares and meteors, etc. You could go on and on with the things, the dangers. But then they turn right around and tell us that yet this tiny little, you know, Lego toy, this, you know, whatever, that it can not only pass through that force field, but then enter the space with no protection from all that stuff, and then the people are in there and they don't get killed, and the spaceship isn't destroyed, and then it lands on a moon that also does not have that protection. That just literally never made sense to me, and I would bring just that, you know, that, and I didn't know about a alternative way, you know, way. I mean, of course anybody would have thought about, you know, that ancients believed in a flat earth, but I didn't know that there really was an alternative viewpoint to that. And I would bring it up sometimes, and people just look at me like I'm nuts. But how, you know, does anybody have, you know, could follow up on what I was just sharing? Like, if you, based on their story, if it takes this massive object to create such a powerful force to protect it, how can we suddenly then, survive without it?
Well, that would mean that, you believe the sun is doing all the things they say it's doing, and that we could easily be wiped out by balls flying through space. And I mean, that's part of the whole agenda behind this whole thing, is to make you have that belief system that you're not protected and important in this creation, that you are an insignificant accident that happened by accident, and that at any second now that accident can be easily dismissed by any kind of cosmic calamity. And that, to me, is a huge part of why the lie exists in the first place. There, as a matter of, like, just back to what you said, I would hop on that Lego ship in a heartbeat before I'd hop on that fucking cardboard and scotch tape and curtain rod shit they allegedly cruised around in. Anyway, I don't know if we talked about that a bit on our show this morning, actually, of the fact that I don't have a clue what that sky is, what it's doing, how it works. I spent a good 4 years out doing things on the beach, making videos. We had this group of people that were doing lots of observations across the plane, taking measurements of the sun leaving their area and measuring where it was coming into their area, and nothing matched, nothing lined up. In fact, it matched not at all, so badly that at one point, one of the friends of ours there, Rob in Australia, what he was seeing made no sense on flat or ball. He didn't know. He was throwing his hands up. He couldn't figure it out, and so many, I mean, he didn't leave. He kept at it. In fact, he lost his family behind keeping at it. But anyway, it definitely isn't something I have any answers for. I just know the answers they have given me since way before I knew flat Earth never made sense. I was going to go to space. That was the whole point. I was going to space. I was going to go to NASA. I went through the classes. I took all the crap, and yet the three-body problem, and yet pick something, man. Halley's Comet. How the fuck? Okay, gravity attracts this and that and the other, but this goes 180 years away and comes back. Okay, cool story, bro. So many things didn't make any sense, and that was questions that they couldn't answer before I ever knew flat Earth was the biggest question to all of this. So yeah, to me, it became just a whole unraveling of everything. Yeah, there's really no need for any of their crap at all. None of the trappings of it. Is this place electromagnetic in nature, and is there a toroidal field involved in it? Highly likely, in the things that people like Cami, Nodell, and Zachary Zabala have demonstrated, and many other people, but that's just the first two that come to mind because I interact with them the most, have demonstrated so many different ways that light and magnets and things that we can't even understand go on above us in the sky. The phasing in and out of polarity and the visibility of a second sun when it is, definitely there. It's been seen by a few different people, and polarity of light. And there's just so many things that actually bring more questions than answers to this whole thing. So yeah, I don't have a clue what it is, that sky, what that sun is, what that moon is. I know I've read histories that talk about times before the moon. There's even one about Adam and Eve talking about a time before the sun, that when they saw the sun, they thought it was a fucking beast in the sky come to devour them. If you go by apocryphal writings. Which real quick kind of circles me back to the history thing real quick. I have to get off here, guys. I got things going on. I just got a text and some stuff's going on with, anyway, it's the whole thing. So I need to hop off, but real quick, I dropped in chat a book earlier called The Secret History of the World. It's by a gentleman named Jonathan Black. He also goes by another nom de plume. What is it? Mark Booth is his other nom de plume. It's been published in a few different versions. The version I purchased had all kind of amazing illustrations in it. I can't find a free version of that one. The one I put on the chat is just a PDF with some interesting illustrations, but not the full illustrated one I have. But it goes through all these different eras of history. And these are like the teachings that are kind of the hidden teachings. These are the things that are, passed down, and you call it what you will, believe it if you will. But reading it, I constantly kept getting what I call truth bumps, the feeling of like, holy shit, this hits home in so many ways. And the different eras that it talks about, the era of the giants is a huge one that it talks about. The eras when we were actually vegetable. Yeah, right. I know, right? It's in the chat. I'll drop it. I think I dropped it in the actual private chat on Restream here as well. So you guys, Bobby, John, Natch can check it out as well.
What,
I'll drop it
what,
in chat again.
what was it you were talking about, Walt?
It's a book called The Secret. Oh, I'm trying to do it right here. Secret History of the World. And yeah, it was one of those books that kind of broke me a few times. I've had to go back on it a few times now and read it. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I
Yeah.
believe everything in it, but I don't dismiss it at all. And it definitely touches on some of the hidden history, secret history, the length of time that we've been here, not necessarily in the human form that we're in now. So, yeah, pretty crazy, I know, but I just a different way to look at some stuff. And it definitely kind of, to me, I think we've been here way longer than anybody can even conceive of. So, but that's just my feeling. So, and I've been on both sides. I've also been on the young earth side. So, but it changes every other day. It feels like, it has to be flexible, or I
It's
never
hard to
think,
know.
oh, well, this is it. Right. Actually, you can't know. You just have to keep looking.
Did,
And if I ever think I've got it all figured out, somebody knock me in the head, please.
did since you're back, flat Earth and coffee. I don't know if you heard what I was saying. I was just wondering if you because that question is still stuck in my head, regardless of I believe in flat Earth now, but I still had that question. I don't know if you heard it or not, about this.
I caught the first half of it. It was had to do with how we, quasars and all this.
Well, yeah, no. In other words, if again, I'm basing this on what they tell us, right? So they tell us that the Earth creates a force field that protects it from the dangers of space. Yet they took a couple of guys, put them in in a Rector set, and shot them out there, and they're fine. And that just doesn't. That never made sense to me, even before I knew about flat Earth.
Yeah, definitely doesn't, right? That's an inconsistency of their story, and then they're trying to rectify for why they can't go back. But I mean, in my paradigm, right, there's a firmament. We can't get through it. There's no dangers. There's no asteroids. There's no comets. There's just a firmament. In their paradigm, um, well, it's funny because in one side we're going to Mars, but we're really struggling going back to the moon. But other countries like India can go there. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Nothing beyond the firmament really makes sense at this point. But I don't see any dangers, right? Like I don't. Their stories don't line up. Everything, nothing makes sense.
So isn't like what I'm describing, isn't it an argument for flat Earth, that if there was if it takes an entire planet to create such a powerful force field, unless they've got Star Trek tech that they're not telling us about, how could you possibly duplicate such a great powerful protection in a spaceship? Is that a valid argument for flat Earth, to in other words say, well, space is fake, or the whole thing, or their whole story is fake?
Yeah, I mean, their whole story is fake to me. I mean, it's a valid argument. Absolutely. Why would they tell us we could go so easily the first time, and then all of a sudden we're struggling to go through the Van Allen belts, right? And I mean, it's all for me when I started looking at it. It took me a few days. Like the moment I looked at it with any with any prejudice, so to say. It just took me a few days to see that there was lies, there was problems. None of their stories are incoherent. They can't make it line up perfectly. So it's the inconsistencies that's the biggest clues, right? It's all those little inconsistencies. Oh, we went to the moon, but we lost all the data, right? We lost all the telemetry data. We lost all the original footage. We lost everything. And that's the story we get from
Yeah.
anything we dig down, right? Any hole we go down, it's all just as flimsy, in my opinion.
They gaslight us all the time, you know? I mean, I mean, like, once you start to wake up to, like, that you can't have it both ways. You can't have a flat Earth and then this, kind of like a, spherical, wobbly, pear-shaped, you know, oblique sphere thing that's going around the sun. They already gave us all the information that we need to break their, model down, okay? We know we're not on a 25,000 mile circumference Earth because we can see too far. Simple as that. Okay? I mean, it's like it's just
Yeah.
really that simple. The sun
Yeah,
cannot.
it's the seat too far. It's the seat, sorry, the seat too far. Exactly. Because that's one that I always share because I actually personally saw it. There's a very small, for what it's worth, because I think they will say, "Oh, well, you were up higher," but we know that that's not the case because of the way the horizon rises to your visual perspective. But for what it's worth, the mountain there's a mountain in California that does happen to be a very small mountain, so small, in fact, that you can drive to the top. And it's significant because typically, if you, with all of these flat Earth kind of things, it's such a grandiose endeavor to go try and prove something or to experiment with. In this case, it's a mountain that you don't even have to climb. You can literally drive to the very top. There's a plaque there that actually says what I'm saying. There's a plaque there that says it's the survey site for the entire state of Nevada, because from there you could see the mountain range in Nevada. That you know the one thing that they will, if you Google it, it'll range from 160 to 200 miles away. And I can't remember what it said right on the plaque itself, but there's a plaque there that actually says it. You could, on a clear day, you could see the Sierra Nevada, however many, between 160 200 miles away. And I kept going because that was so amazing to me. Again, not even knowing about flat Earth at the time, I just thought it was amazing. I kept going there until it was a clear enough day that I saw it. And so if you can't, and that leads me to another thing. I saw there was a video last night where I think his name is Dave Weiss with the app. He's got the app and everything. He was
Yeah.
saying that he offered that, you know, as far as the distance, happened to say that the only way that distance thing would work would be if Earth was super insanely 1,000 times larger or something. And the minute he said that, everybody attacked him and said, "Oh, you've gone back to the globe."
Well, I mean, there's truth to that in a way. I mean, like, I'm gonna have Dave Weiss on, so I'm gonna try to grill him a little bit. And I have a lot of respect for Dave Weiss, but just because he has 100,000 subscribers and he has an app, he's actually kind of pushing this model that a lot of people are like within the flat Earth community say like nobody subscribed to that. Like he does not speak for me, and that is something that I would say as well. You know, and that's just a model. Model is not reality, you know? We can only go by observable facts, you know, like, things that we have, you know, experimented ourselves and, other people we trust that, because we know we've been lied to, okay? So, pushing, an app with a model, that's not necessarily reality, and that's where this whole final experiment is coming in, regardless, and I don't think I don't know about you, flat Earth, Bobby, where you are at, but I believe that we are on a flat, stationary, not some million times bigger Earth, you know, world. You know, like stationary in sense of like relative stationary, but like you know, like it's flat. It's flat.
Yeah,
It's not like million times bigger. You know, that's where I'm at.
yeah. That Dave also likes to show the multiple rings with the more continents, right? Like I don't subscribe to that. Some people do, could be, but it just goes against what my worldview. But he did when he says it. He says it's a possibility, right? Like I get it. He says he just says it's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was. I don't know. I didn't take it as, oh, that means he's going back to the globe. I just feel like he was being super open-minded or whatever to what other people's arguments are and trying to come up with something for them. But but because but it was significant to me just because I had this experience of being able to see too far. To me, even space, and I'm putting it in air quotes or whatever, even what we see there, to me seems like it's too far. Like I can't see across the street. So how am I seeing something that's a trillion miles away and nothing ever gets in the way of it? It just, how can you see it to begin with? And how can you continue to see it that nothing, because they tell us, even though they tell us that space is vast and so on, and mostly empty, they also tell us that there's lots of stuff out there. So something occasionally might block your view, you would think, or knock those stars out of position. They tell us again. They tell us planets crash into each other and all kinds of stuff like that happens.
They
Then
tell you
how?
all kinds of stuff. How do you
Yeah,
know
how
it's true? Like,
how could the Big Dipper still be the Big Dipper? How could it still be in the same spot? How come nothing would ever move slightly out of position or
well, they're lying. Simple as that. They've lied to you about the cosmology. Their model cannot possibly fit our cosmology of what Earth is. It's just that they're just mutually exclusive. So if they're telling you something, it just won't fit. And then they have to continue with the lie. That's the thing. They deliberately lie to us, and then they come up with all the other lies about like how it's working in their model. And then if you don't dig deep enough, it's gonna make some sense, and you're gonna probably like not you, but like people are gonna think that, oh, like a really genius scientist, spending millions of dollars, and we have all this equipment, so it must be true. That's the thing. Bigger the lie, more believable it becomes. And flat Earth is like in that category. It's like big enough of a lie that vast majority of people accept that the guys in like trench coats or lab coats are actually telling you the truth when they themselves don't know what they have cognitive dissonance. I think that a lot of the people who are working for NASA, the fanboys, they probably got good grades in school and they're good water followers, and they're looking at the screen there and they're like looking at like SpaceX going up to space and they're like, oh yay, hooray. And they don't know what's actually going on. They don't see the big picture, and that's vast majority of them. But some people within the flat Earth, the NASA, agency, they know exactly what this place is about. Otherwise, because the lies that they formulate fits exactly to our perspective of how we observe reality.
Yeah,
They back end engineer there.
and
Okay,
what
that's why
what
we know they know what they're talking about.
and the thing about the lies is, I had ended up having to block like everybody I knew on Facebook. The recently, I'm exaggerating, but um, because this guy was saying, well, how could so many people be in on the lie? And what I was trying to say is that that's really not such a big deal to have so many people in on the lie. And in other words, first of all, I don't even think you would have to be in some secret society like the Masons in order to have the lie. I think I've seen people who are more than capable of doing that at low level, retail sales jobs. People will be. In other words, what I'm trying to get at is just give somebody a good job, a good paying job, and they will do whatever it takes to
Yeah,
perpetuate
yes.
whatever
Anybody
things.
is capable of lying. That's true.
If you've got it, and the government is the nation's largest employer, so think about that for a minute. You've
Yes,
got private companies that have I think it's called an NDA. Then that they can't talk about anything, and then you've got government
yes.
level secrecy where you're sworn to secrecy, blah blah blah, and they're the biggest employer. And so number one, this person now has a good paying job They want to, they want to provide for their family, and they want to protect themselves against any kind of thing that could happen if they did, whatever, confess to the lie. But then also there's the ego. All these
Yeah.
people, they think that it fills their ego. Like if I got some cool government job, I would probably think, oh yeah, I'm a cool you know whatever government because you see it in the
Would you?
movies. Like you see it in the movies. So it's been glorified. So they think that they've got this cool important job. I could see where something like that would trick me too into that, if that happened, because
It wouldn't
yeah.
trick me.
Well,
I don't think it would
may,
trick Bobby.
well, maybe not
If you
now.
see it
But
for what it is,
right, no, but what I'm getting at is from the standpoint of those people.
I understand.
They probably think that they're on the right sides. Some of them, right, where they were seduced
Of
by
course
the
they would.
money and the egoic sense of the power, and
Yes.
that is what I'm trying to say.
It's not black and white. It doesn't mean that it's like, okay, this is the truth, and then those people are 100% liars. Like there's a gradations. There's 50 shades of gray in between the black and the white of things, and people, so the level of lies that is being told to various people who are, let's say, a part of the agency. Okay, it's also differs, just like in the secret. What differs from the NDA, the non-disclosure agreement, is the fact that you can be sued for breaking it, or you can lose your contract for breaking it. But when you swear in a secret society, that's basically saying that they can eviscerate you or unlive you. Okay, and that is the separation of that oath. And a lot of people, they do both things. Okay, they both work for the secret society and the government at the same time. How far you go up is based on your intelligence and your ability and how diabolical you actually are. But there are vast majority of people who, they just want to keep their head down and want to keep a good job because that's what they're are told to do. And maybe their ego gets in the way, but they don't really question it. Right? They actually genuinely believe the Earth is a globe, and they can work for NASA. And because of their belief that the Earth is a globe and we can go to space and stuff like that, maybe those are the credentials that they were looking for to hire them. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. I mean, everything. All the movies, the TV, and everything glorifies all of these. And nowadays, because of the woke stuff, it's girls. Right now, the girls are the super secret agents. They could take out every guy in the room. This time. And what I'm saying is, we
Yeah,
have
that's the whole woke stuff.
yeah, we have generations of people raised on that to be this agent, this government agent that could do all these bad things, but yet that's a hero. They make that the hero. So now somebody comes along and offers you this great gig. You paid lots of money, and now you're one of those heroes. I'm saying just right off the bat, I think it would be easy for them to keep the lie going without even getting to the point of a secret society. And the funny thing about it is, a lot of those jobs, there's a lot more of those society kind of type of things out there than simply the Masons. There's lots of fraternities or fraternal orders of this or that, and oftentimes, quite a bit of the time, they are a union for a job. So if you get where I'm coming from, so even if you didn't go and join the Masons at your job to get the union type protections, right? You join this. They have a fraternal organization,
Yes,
and
yes.
yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah, so I mean, they call it compartmentalization. I just wrote it in there, but basically, it's a top-down, like monolithic pyramid scheme. At the very top and center, the people are all in on it. Most everybody else is kind of cannon fodder. The right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing, and then people often say, "Well, my father worked for this NASA, and he was part of the satellite team, and then he was an engineer." Like, are you saying that he's a liar? No, nobody's saying that he's a liar. He could genuinely believe that he's doing his little role as an engineer for a satellite component, doesn't make him a liar, but he doesn't know the big picture. He doesn't see what's actually going on to perpetuate that lie. And we know how much money they're actually spending. I mean, like officially speaking, they're spending $60 million, $70 million per day for NASA alone. But you have to understand that NASA is a military organization. It's not a some public, you know, thing. It's actually a military organization. So they have different layers of, like what do you call it? Like when top secret and stuff like this, clearances, right? So like the very people at the people at the very top, they probably know what's going on in the big picture way, and they're straight out bold faced lying to us, while the people in the middle, they kind of like don't know what the hell's going on. They may suspect and whatnot, but they're good order followers. That's why they are able to maintain their job. But vast majority of the people at the very bottom, they don't know what's going on at all. Okay, so this is the hierarchy that we're finding ourselves in, and not just NASA, but we're talking about military and financial banking industry. They all work in a very similar way. The secret societies also work in the same way. They don't tell the first initiate, the third degree Mason, what the plan is. You have to work your way up, and you have to be coming from the right bloodline to actually be part of the plan. Otherwise, you are just cannon fodder.
I do believe in the bloodline. That all absolutely agrees with me.
For sure. Bloodline exists. I mean, it's clear. I mean, it's so well documented. I mean, it's like the people who are at the very top, they are from a bloodline, without a doubt. And all these presidents, they're related to each other, and they come from the same aristocratic families. I mean, what are the chances of that?
Yeah.
A country of 30 million, 300 million, 330 million people, and then you have all president except one who come from a bloodline. What are
Yeah,
we
yeah.
talking about here?
That's what I was watching. They just did the new Game of Thrones thing, and it immediately hit me. I was like, well, that's the they. That it's like right in your face. That's. I see no reason why it wouldn't actually be just like that. That these are families that have always been ruling. Like there's no new world order. It's always been here. It's just that with technology now, they're able to seize more control, and the and that it's all family, the nobles, right? These families that have perpetuated their line and their wealth and their power and so on for a really long time. That seems almost obvious.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot to like a lot of rabbit holes, and like what's really kind of fascinating for me, because I've been kind of doing research for probably nearly 20 years of my life. I'm 45 now, so I've been really interested in this kind of topic since I was like 24, 25, and went into all kinds of rabbit holes. But what I'm noticing is that in the last couple of years, like 2, 3, 4 years, with the whole 2020 event, a lot of people have been like kind of waking up, and they've been kind of questioning a lot of stuff that they weren't really thinking about prior to that time. They were under a kind of like a hypnosis, you can say. And then once you start pulling on that string, you're going to unravel that whole sweater. And it doesn't take a lot of time to catch up to everything that we know about flat earth cosmology. I mean, still nobody has like a perfect model, but like people who are making content like Bobby and myself and other people who are, we keep our ears to the ground, and we know what the latest is in terms of topics as far as flat earth is concerned. And like these individuals are they're more or less, I would say, on the same page about what's kind of happening. And a lot of other people who catch up to it, it doesn't take a lot of time, because Bobby's been going at it for a long time. He's been up to the whole flat earth cosmology for like nearly 10 years now, myself as well. And there are people who are only have been like involved with it for like, let's say, last 2, 3 years, but they've more or less caught up and are beyond my ability to actually articulate this flat earth cosmology. So it's not the amount of time that you spent for it, it's the amount of passion that you have and amount of time that I actually spend doing the research for finding the truth of that one topic, because there's a lot of topics to talk about, obviously.
Well, you mentioned the 2020 thing, and I remember when it happened. That was another thing I had to just block everybody on Facebook just because I asked a question. The kind of backlash I got, I thought it was a valid question, and I was like, if every time I go to the doctor, uh, either the doctor or the nurse, the very first question they ask is, "What are you allergic to? What medications are you allergic to?" And so why would they be so concerned about what you're allergic to? What you're allergic to is because we're all different, and one medication for one person is going to respond differently for another person, and so on. But then they turn around and say, but with this one magic medication, everyone on earth can get it, including the animals. That how does that make how could that ever be? Isn't that anti-science? Doesn't that immediately contradict the science when the very first question they always ask you is what are you allergic to? But you know, but except for this one thing that everybody can take, as if it's just water.
Science, I mean, like, we have to kind of like get rid of this completely because they lied to about medicine, they lied to us about history, they lied to us about history. So once you start questioning it, then what can you really rely on? And that's we almost have to like scratch everything and get down to like what can we really rely on? And that's the thing. That's kind of the way I look at it, especially in terms of like pharmaceutical stuff, medicine stuff. I mean, like, that's a whole Rockefeller thing. Allopathy medicine that's been, given to us, and they got rid of homeopathy and herbs and stuff like this back in the day. And, that was all done on purpose. And that's why weed was illegal for the longest time. And there's a reason why they're bringing it back and making it legal again because they kind of want people docile, and they can make money on it. It's an illegal war trade, and you can't stop everybody from growing a plant if they wanted to, right? It's a plant, or what, for example, but it has so many applications to it, actually. But you can't patent a plant. That's where Monsanto comes in and the GMO stuff. That's when you can start patenting stuff. But the God-made plants cannot be patented. That's nature. How you doing over there, Bobby?
Good, good. I agree with what you just said, 100%. That's why marijuana is illegal in most places. Um, well, I'm in the Philippines. They don't you can do life in prison here for having marijuana. But yeah, they don't
Yeah,
want
yeah,
they don't want
yeah.
homeopathic cures for anything. They don't want holistic medicine. They want petroleum.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, Philippines is like you can say if the you have the 50 states of United States, and Philippines is like another one, like maybe 52nd, 53rd state of America. Okay, I mean they have a lot of Americans going there. I think they have couple bases in the Philippines, if I remember correctly, right? And a lot of Freemasonry actually happens in the Philippines as well.
Yeah.
A lot of Freemasonry.
Yeah, they're building 5 or 6 new bases here right now, American bases. And yeah, I was talking about that the other day about how much Freemasonry there is here. It is they really they're very proud of it, and you see it on their buildings here, and they'll have they'll pay them homage to them all over the place. These Freemasons. Um, it's interesting. We don't do it to that extent. We don't do it at all in the U.S. Like I've never ridden around and seen all the council members are all Freemasons, right? Like you'll see that here. You'll see that
Mhm.
they don't hide the fact that their politicians are Freemasons here.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It's really it's because like, it's still kind of an idea that it's like, you know, the reason why they can get away with that is because like people are not on board over there on average about what they are, what they're about. But like us, we are like Western trained. I went to university, and like I'm like I read about the Freemasons, let's just say, we know what they're about. We know what they've been a part of. and you know, like the Washington President Washington being Freemason first, right? When you look at his bust of you know, that's more important of a title actually for George Washington than him being the first president. You would think it would be the opposite. The first president would be up there first. And there is kind of this idea that when presidents swear, they have the public swearing, but they also have a private swearing. You know, in a kind of a lodge nearby in Washington D.C. So they have two, like this idea of the black and the white. So the black and white, the Yakim and Boaz thing is that they have the white, which is for the public consumption. Everybody thinks, oh yes, he's a Christian, you know, he's swearing on the Bible, and like everybody's all like gung ho about that. You know, it sounds um, like a kind of a red blood American thing to do, but behind the scenes, they're doing all kinds of really nefarious stuff. Like we don't need to go into all the details, but we know that that exists. And to be a part of this organization in a hardcore way, you're gonna have to be willing to do a lot of heinous stuff. That's how they really vet you. Are you willing to go that far? Are you a psychopath? Really, what it comes down to. Are you if you are, because what a psychopath is someone who does not have any consideration for another being at all, right? And they're willing to go to do whatever it is necessary to be successful, but they can't present themselves as like a you know, Jeffrey Dahmer in public, because then the public will get a sniff of that and will be like, okay, you know, that's not going to work. So they have to hide it in behind a nice duping smile, right? And nice clothing, you know, nice church behind the scenes, and say, I'm a pastor for this church. That doesn't make you not a member of these secret organizations. In fact, you know, the only standard is like, what kind of individual you, what kind of values do you really have? That's the only standard that I can go by.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they're all psychopaths. And it should be appalling to us to have anyone in any form of office that's a member of any secret service, right? That should be an automatic disqualification. If you're a member of a secret service, you shouldn't be allowed to run for any kind of office. And
Yeah, secret organization. Secret service is something different, right?
well,
That is
yeah, sorry, yeah,
yeah.
I'm I'm uh I'm getting tired over here, honestly. Um,
Yeah. Okay.
but oh yeah, what was I gonna say?
See
But
you.
well, we can close out. We can wrap up. We'll give it another 5 minutes.
Okay.
I didn't
Okay.
want to be that abrupt. But yeah, I'm at the end of my string here, man. I'm usually in bed at this time. So
All good.
Th- th-
It's always good
yeah,
to see you, Bobby, and it's good talking with you. Go ahead, sir.
I was just going to say thank you for letting me join. I've got to get ready for a doctor's appointment myself, but I appreciate that you let me come in and you know, ask the million different questions that you know, that I've been wanting to with somebody with folks I thought, you know, would know some stuff, you know. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
yeah, I mean, I'm first and foremost, I'm a flat earther, right? Like, and that took me to the Bible. I'm a Christian. I am into quite a bit of other conspiracy things, but today more than anything, flat Earth and the Bible. Everything else kind of, but there's a lot of conspiracies that are intermingled in the Bible. A lot of people don't understand that. I mean, you have giants in there, you have demons in there, you have our history in there. And I know not everyone agrees with it, right? And some people go from, um, make the leap to Anunnaki, and some people make the leap to Tartaria. I haven't, but you know, I have, to each their own. It's all good. I like hearing about it. I like hearing about. There's definitely stuff hidden there, right? So I like uh, learning about it. But not. It's always great having you on. Um, I'll probably fire this up once a week. You know, now that I'm
Okay.
retired. So you're always welcome to join in, John. It was thank you for coming in and sharing. Well, parts of your story anyway. And thanks everyone who joined in, and I've been reading all the comments. Um, yeah, that's it. You got anything to say, Notch, for we head out?
No, not much. Thanks for having me up. I was reluctant to kind of come up because I want to give space to other people, but I'm always happy to come and just bounce ideas back and forth. And I have respect for everybody. If you're a Christian or a Muslim or Hindu, there's still commonality that we can build on, and that's what I'm interested in. So, like for me, what's important is just that we have the right decorum of conversation, the right approach, and just try to keep an open mind, and then and try to see what makes sense to us. We're all trying to figure it out together. No, I don't have all the answers. Bobby, I'm sure he doesn't feel like he has all the answers, and we can, but we've spoken before, and we've established some amount of trust, and that's part of the reason why I feel motivated to want to come back here and talk with Bobby. We don't have to agree 100%, and we can't agree 100%. And if I'm in a room where everybody's agreeing with me about everything that I say, I'm probably in the wrong room though too. So keep that in mind. But that being said, thanks for having me up, and I will see you. Have a good rest, and I'll talk to you perhaps next week. Bye
All
for now.
right. Well, wherever you are, good night, good morning, good afternoon. Until next time, take